Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Lawsplaining the Interwebs. I am your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. And with me today, I have a very special guest, Mr. Ty Beard. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm fine. I'm a little tired. It's been a long weekend.
I hear you, brother.
Yeah, so you were, hold on, you were up in the North Texas role-playing game place, right?
Yes, North Texas RPG Con. Yeah, uh, it's a small con. Well, it's actually pretty good size, but it's a nice con. They limit the number of people that can come, so it's not it's not real crowded. But it was a fun time, very fun time.
Very cool. Very cool. So you're out there for the weekend. I was at a charity ball bash. It used to be a ball. It used to be like you dressed up in a tux, but then they moved it to an outside event. It's at the zoo, the Minnesota Zoo, and
Okay.
they moved it to an outdoor event where it's more casual. And I don't know. I think I like the ball better than the bash
Yeah,
myself.
you so rarely get to wear a tux these days.
Yeah.
Pretend like you're James Bond, right?
Right. Right. And so but it is always a good event and lots of money raised for the zoo. They've got very ambitious projects going on, and what I really liked is so I've been going to this thing for about 4 or 5 years, and they used to do this special funding for a particular animal because our zoo like leads the nation or so. I'm butchering this, but they're one of the leaders in like conservation of particular breeds of animals.
Okay.
Like a couple of years ago, they grabbed Asian wild horses and are working to reincorporate them or something. I whatever. That actually doesn't interest me all that much. But last year, they decided at the big charity auction to do the to focus the gifts on getting kids to the zoo who can't afford it because
Oh, that's nice.
it's the state zoo, but it is kind of pricey. So now,
Hmm.
um, because of these things, like any family who qualifies for any kind of government assistance, I believe, can just go to the zoo for free.
Yeah.
Whereas otherwise, it'd be like 15, $20 a person with $8 for the kids.
You
And
know, for a family of limited means, that's a lot of money.
oh yeah, it's a
Um,
ton of money.
you know,
Um,
and
or for a homeschooling family because you
yeah,
have 38,000 children in
that's
tow.
right. Yeah.
but uh but no, so we were at that yesterday, and then today I had all sorts of stuff going on where I've just like not been home, just running around doing stuff. The most exhausting thing I can think of is not being in my own house.
Yeah, I can understand that. I of course am at Stately Beard Manor as you refer to it.
Yeah, yeah.
Hope the echo's not too bad. I'm in our living room. It's a little bit echoey.
No, it's good. It's good. And I
Okay.
hear there won't be any bats, well, I would assume.
I would hope not. If
So
there are, we've got other problems I'll have to deal with.
So we're here tonight to talk about a couple different things. The main focus of tonight is we're going to be going through. Actually, you are going to kind of walk me through this Oberlin College versus the Gibson Bakery case that was
Yeah.
just awarded a huge jury verdict, um, jury award, I guess, of
Hmm.
$11 million.
Yeah, and that's only the compensatory damages. In other words, that's the damages that the jury felt the plaintiffs actually suffered.
Right. So
You know,
there's still pending a decision on things like punitive damages, which I'm guessing in Ohio, once you get the award, you file a motion for punitive damages and have a separate evidentiary hearing to argue your
hmm
side's
hmm
case on why punitive damages should be applied or should not. And we're going to talk about that a little bit because you've indicated to me there may be some weird decisions. We'll call them
yeah,
some uh-ohs, as I would call them, but weird
yeah,
decisions.
yeah. There, of course, there's no way to go through this thing in the detail in one show that it would really require. But yeah, it's a fascinating case. Very fascinating. I kept up with it a fair amount. Of course, I got busy recently. I don't know, you might have noticed, but but I kept up with it a fair amount, and it did actually kind of play out the way I figured it'd play out.
Hey, this is interesting. One of the guys in the chat says, I'm from Oberlin and my parents were witnesses for the plaintiffs if you want to ask anything.
Oh, wow.
You know what?
Yes,
Tim,
that would be cool.
Can you do this for me, Tim McDaniel? Can you email me? I would love to set up maybe a show. So what Ty said just a second ago is that this is a big case, and there's actually quite a bit of writing on it. It's been going on for 2 years. Legal Insurrection has done a lot of work on it from both outside and inside the courtroom. So there's all sorts of info that's there. And what we might do is we might try and make this into something of a series on how these cases work mechanically through the thing. Because one thing you'll find a lot of out there is commentary about the legal theory of all of this stuff. I talk about the legal theory and stuff behind cases that are way outside of my practice area. I do a lot of research on them, but there's one thing to talk about things theoretically. There's another thing to be in the courtroom working on them and writing the paperwork behind the scenes and all of that stuff. So we might actually be able to do that. So Tim, if you can email me just some contact info so we can have a discussion, maybe we can get you on a show to talk about kind of your experience at the college and with your parents as witnesses. I think that might be a really interesting part of this as we
very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, if we drill down into this case, we can talk about how witness testimony really plays out. So what we're going to do today is a high level overview of what kind of happened in what events led to the lawsuit, what kind of claims they brought, and then we'll just kind of talk through the case a bit and see where that goes. And then, yeah, if it's appropriate, and I think it might be a subject you guys are interested in, maybe we'll just do an ongoing series. And if since we've got some people there in Oberlin, maybe we can actually reach out and make a few more connections as well and bring other people in to talk about what happened in this case and how you go from a school or a group of people calling some family business racist to the family business getting $11 million from a jury award. Because, it's that's correct, Timothy McDaniel. Well, no, it's Rekieta Law at rekieta.org. So here, let me send that to you. And there you go. So yeah, if you just pop me an email, that'd be great. So we're going to talk about that. If we can briefly just go over the overview of a couple things. We're not going to talk much at all about Vic's case tonight. So if you're looking for a lot of Vic info, probably not going to find much. Although you may notice some parallels to what's going on in this case. And with those parallels, what you can do is try and figure out what kind of questions are going to be asked for discovery. What are Ty and his firm going to be looking for? What are the defense attorneys going to be looking for as each of these sides start to engage more and more discovery? Of course, this is relevant because tomorrow is an event-filled day for Vic Mignogna's case. We've got the response due, I believe, by Funimation, their answer document, as well as discovery information from Monica and Ron Toye. Now, without saying too much, I'm right on the date for Funimation is tomorrow, right? Or is it the 7th?
I believe it. I believe it's tomorrow, but I'd honestly have to look at the Rule 11 agreement. It's been a very long weekend.
Okay, I can pull it up real quick, just because.
Yeah,
that's gonna bother me if I don't.
Yeah. I wish Carrie were here; she'd know.
Yeah. Hold on. Here we go. Almost there. And another thing that I'll address. So yes, there's a lot of speculation running around about Casey Eric, and there's some indications that he is from, or there's some indications about what happened from Shane and stuff like that. My policy on things like this is not to speculate about what happened. We will find out on Monday, I'm guessing, as the next day of business following the changes to Kessler Collins's website. We'll find out on Monday what is going on, I would suppose, and that'll be that. So I'm not going to speculate on it. I don't think there's any particular reason to, when we could just get the information directly. Let's see. Yeah, on or before June 10th.
Okay.
So that is tomorrow. So tomorrow we may have at least portion of the show dedicated to Funimation's answer document. That will probably, I'm going to guess Funimation is going to have a short answer similar to Markey rather than a long answer similar to Casey.
Yeah, I would expect so. If were I them, I'd probably just go ahead and file the anti-slap motion with my answer. Get that underway. If it were me.
We'll see. I mean, that's been one of the weird questions going, I guess, coming into this is where has the anti-slap motion been from the other parties? But we'll find out tomorrow what's going on. So we'll cover that then. And Ty will not join us for that one. But
no, actually, you know, it's funny. I've got an incredibly busy day tomorrow of things not related to Vic. And it's a very broad, diverse day. Everything from oil and gas title opinions to getting prepared for a merger and acquisition deal. So, and a couple of litigation matters need tended to. So I don't know how much I'm going to actually be able to spend on it. But.
Yeah, well, that sounds fun. That's why you have a team, though, obviously.
Yeah.
And how this works out. Okay. That said, let me get through the early super chats because there are a good number of those, and then by the way, I have to do this. Do you guys know that this show makes money? I don't know if anybody out there is aware, but this is a monetized show, and what I keep seeing on Twitter are there are all these people who are shocked that a show could be monetized. Was very interesting to me.
Never heard of such things.
Yeah, and it's weird that like a production that people watch and engage with might cost something for either viewers or for me or whatever, and we might find an exchange of value in what we do. But this show is monetized. I feel like maybe I haven't disclosed that enough, because every time some new dummy comes in and is like alerted to my show, they're like, oh, wow, that guy's taking money. I mean, taking is a little strong. I'm accepting. I'm very much happy to accept money.
Nick, to quote one of my favorite lines from one of my favorite movies, after all, we are not communists.
Yeah.
Right?
But
by the way, guys, curious in the chat, see if anybody in the chat actually knows what movie that line is from and who the speaker is.
Anybody know what line the movie? What is it? After all, we're not communists.
After all, we are not communists.
What movie that's from and what speaker that is? I do not know the reference personally.
She'll have to help you increase your education because it's a movie you need to see.
So yes, the show is monetized, and as part of that ongoing agreement, it's The Godfather.
Yep,
it's The Godfather.
And the speaker was
who's the speaker? Come on, guys, come on, you guys are better.
No fair googling this, guys.
I haven't.
There's got to be a Godfather fanatic out there besides me.
I haven't watched The Godfather in a decade at least.
You get a lot more out of it as an adult. Barzini, that's right.
There you go.
So the context is they're having the meeting of the five families trying to end the war, and Barzini is making the point that Don Corleone has all the judges and the politicians, and he has to share them. You know, that he says, you know, we have to be able to drink from the well. You know, it's not things are now much more complicated, and all this. And then he ends with, of course, he may present a bill for such services. After all, we are not communists.
Ah, sure. Yeah, there you go. There you go. I like it.
Anyway.
So yes, this is, and of course, there is no requirement for this show. There's not a single required dollar to be spent to watch and engage in the show and the content. However, I do appreciate every dollar that you guys choose to send. So thank you so much. Ty, have you ever had Lafroig? This stuff?
That would be a big no.
we may have a task at Matsuri. Have you ever tried to drink the ashes of a campfire?
Not that I can remember. May have eaten them one time accidentally. That's a different story.
Oh, wait,
no,
you're in Texas. You know those really sunny days when the road starts to melt in some places?
Yeah.
Have you ever licked that?
No.
Would you like a whiskey that tastes like licking the melted tar off the road?
Tempting though that is, I would have to say, I might not be the best choice of audience for that type of product.
We'll change your mind. We'll change your mind down in
That's
Texas.
A bold statement.
Let me tell you before we get into this, I've got so much preliminary stuff to tell you. I do believe that Lady Rackets and I are coming to the John Wayne party.
Excellent.
We did get our itinerary worked out for Matsuri, and we'll be heading down like Wednesday, so we should be able to make it up for the party. Yeah.
I assume you've told the stream that we celebrate John Wayne's birthday with a big party firm.
Yeah, I think I did, but who knows who was actually here for that particular show. But yes, this is the Beard Harris, Bullock and Hughes John Wayne birthday party. And,
yes, and I know this is not technically we celebrate around the birthday of the Duke. The actual birthday of the Duke falls typically on a very inconvenient week for getting a country club, to let us have their facility.
I see. Oh, so this is at a country club.
Yeah. It's a pretty big affair. We invite all of our clients. Actually, it's mostly for clients.
Sure.
Only my lawyers and our staff do come, but there's no other professionals.
Well, I mean, it'll be great. Well, it'll be great going there and seeing all the nobodies who because you don't represent any clients at all.
Right. Yeah.
From what I've heard,
all these phantom and hypothetical people that I work for. Yeah.
I'm getting a request to live stream the party.
Oh boy.
I don't know if that would work. There are a bunch of people there who probably don't want to be on camera.
Yeah, but we'd have to. We might could do like a "Hey, how you doing?" from the John Wayne party type thing. But no, I really don't think.
Yeah,
folks really want to be on the.
Yeah, keep your eyes peeled. If I can pull off a quick couple seconds. Ooh, maybe I should. Maybe no, wait, it won't be in your office. The photoshopping will not be debunked.
Oh. How would we go about debunking that exactly?
I don't know. I would tell people to go look at it for themselves, but then you'd have a bunch of weirdo creeps coming into your office.
Well, that's true too.
Yeah.
We're well armed. I mean, we're not too worried about that.
Okay. So that's I did want to say that, and you will be joining me for the panel at Matsuri as well, and so just so everybody's aware, apparently Anime Matsuri is going to stream that panel, the For the Fans panel, Friday at 5:00. So I don't know exactly how the details are working out on that, but I will. It'll, of course, on Twitter. You can find this information. When I get it, you'll get it. So.
A personal note for you, Nick. I think you'd appreciate this. So your Uncle John came by to see me at the RPG Con.
Oh, okay.
And I introduced him to the Frog God Games guys, and as my friend and client, and I said, but his real claim to fame is this is Nick Rekieta's uncle. And they're like, oh yeah, great. So use that in whatever way you wish, but use your power for good.
Never. I never will.
Never.
Because if I start using my power for good, people will not be able to say such nasty things about me on the internet.
Well, sacrifices have to be made then.
I guess.
But I thought you'd get a kick out of that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that'll humble him a peg.
Look at
Uh,
that.
so, all right. Well, let me do these chats here. Oh,
Sure.
I didn't. I pseudo prepared for the stream, and I didn't put this window over here yet. So bear with me one moment.
No problem.
Just while I organize my disorganized monitors, and then how many monitors do you have, Ty? Was it 2 that you have?
In my office now, I've got 5.
You have 5?
Well, I have the 3 on
like,
my desk, and then I've got the 2 big ones on my walls.
Sure.
Now, actually, that's not true. The new office I'm in, we haven't mounted the 2 big ones yet.
Okay, I was gonna say I didn't remember seeing 2 big ones. Okay,
and of course,
so
got the blackboard on the what.
so you're just a 3 monitor pleb right now.
Yeah, I am. It's kind of bad, really, because Mr. Harris has a 4K monitor, a big one that is quartered, so it's like 4 monitors, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's very embarrassing for the senior partner, to be inadequately monitored.
You got to one up him on that.
Yeah. They slipped it by me. I wasn't paying attention.
Well, I think 5 monitors is a little bougie of you personally.
Well, I did that. Gosh, 7 years ago.
The truth, guys, is they're all CRT monitors at a whopping 240i resolution or whatever. Okay.
Actually, one of them, they were originally those gigantic 200-pound plasma displays.
Oh my God, they're the worst.
Yeah. I was assured that our sheetrock in our office building would hold them. And one afternoon, I'm sitting there and I hear this kaboom, and I walk in. It's torn down. So we replaced them, and by that time, the TVs had gotten down to like 30 pounds or something. So, but yeah.
Yeah. When I moved into my new house, the previous owner left one of those a mounted plasma TV, and it doesn't even have like HDMI inputs or anything, so it's completely worthless today. And I was like, I'll just take this down off the wall.
Oh.
It was not
those
good.
Suckers are heavy. We removed one from Stately Beard Manor about 8 months ago, and I had to call one of my buddies who has teenage sons.
Yeah.
And said, I will give you coin of the realm if you'll come and apply your backs to get, because it was in a complicated to explain, but it was in a built-in piece of the wall, and like it was just you couldn't get it out, and it's too heavy for one person. But anyway, so I let strapping young lads do that while I helpfully gave instructions.
Very, very courteous of you.
Yeah.
Okay, John Johnson says, Nick, if you like smoky and peaty scotch, you should try Octomore. It's the most heavily peated scotch in the world. My wife says it tastes like an ashtray was dumped in a glass of Band-Aids, but I love it. Cheers. I'll have to find that, man. That sounds like an adventure. Diablo says, hey, Nick and Ty, won't be able to make the stream tonight, work and all that good stuff. I can't wait to hear what y'all have to say about the shenanigans Veronica pulls tomorrow with the discovery deadline. Well, we'll see. Maybe there won't be shenanigans.
Yeah.
Bald Eagle 1787 says, do you think this case is going to have universities watching their students and possibly expelling them if they ? Expulsion is a relatively simple matter since students have to agree to a code of conduct in order to attend. I don't know that it's that simple.
No. Well, I think the answer right now is no, because what's striking about this case is the misbehavior of the university officials.
Yeah.
That's why this is a lawsuit. If it was just a bunch of students randomly acting like jackasses, there wouldn't be litigation. So you're going to have to require university administrators to change their ways, and
Yeah, and you got to remember how, of course, you guys know, all of you guys know how likely these people are to change their ideology in regards to this stuff, right?
No, you can see the standard SJW tactics unfolding in this case. The doubling down, the absolute unwillingness to admit you're wrong, even when doing so would get rid of the case. I mean, it's just it's textbook.
Right. And so and of course, one of the criticisms of defamation cases that's out there is that not a lot of defamation cases are brought, and some people might assert that that's because defamation cases are hard to win. while defamation cases are hard to win, one of the big reasons that they're not brought is that the possibility of recovering even the fees that you spend on your attorneys is low because the pockets of the perpetrators are often shallow. Here you
As you would
have
expect, the pockets of people who tweet hundreds of times a day.
right, right.
You know, I mean,
So, you know, if you're tweeting more than 20 times an hour, get help. Get help.
boy, or get clients or get something. I mean,
Um, but anyway, so if you've got, let's say, but in this case, of course, you have a university. Universities, while they don't, I mean, they're not the best money making vehicles, but depending on the university, there's typically an endowment. There actually are reserve funds that you can get to if you get a judgment.
oh yeah, you can.
They might
Yeah.
not want them. They might be planning to have those funds for scholarships and other things, but I'm sorry, you don't get to preserve it in that way. So you've got deep pockets. You don't have just a bunch of kids running around like broke college kids. You're not going to take their ramen noodles and spend upwards of $100,000-$200,000. I mean, this case went 2 years. I can't wait till they request
Was it
fees.
12 days of trial? I mean, you know, that's a lot of trial days for a case like this.
We should do a 12 days of trial song.
You know, you know,
On
I
the
have my
first day of
notebook.
trial, Oberlin gave to me
Raimundo
some
said to me, I
statements
don't
that were
know.
defamatory. That was terrible. Don't do
Yeah,
that.
I've got. Yeah, no, let's don't do that.
That's a bad idea, Ty. Why did you think of that song?
It's the delayed bourbon I was drinking with the Frog God guys, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got my legal pad from the notes I took as the trial unfolded. I've actually got a kind of a day 1, day 2, day 3, just high points. It really is if you're a nerd on this kind of stuff, really interesting trial.
Yeah,
Very
a
interesting.
12
A lot
day
more interesting
trial.
than the legal theory. The legal theory is very straightforward,
Right.
but just the way the plaintiff put their case together, the defense, how they did. I mean, it really, really fascinating. Like I said.
Right. And 12 days of trial, just to give you guys an idea. I mean, you're talking about what, 8-hour days?
Oh yeah, yeah.
8-hour days, and you've got an attorney, probably at least one, if not 2 or 3 attorneys there present all of those days. You've got trial prep for where you're going to be preparing for at least 10 to 12 days beforehand, maybe longer, getting ready going into the trial. Just the trial costs of a case like this, you're talking $70,000. It's insane when you start thinking. Well, I kind of pulled that number out of my butt, but I think it's a relatively accurate number. It's the scary thing.
Yeah, they had a fairly extensive witness list. Not as much as I've seen in some commercial lawsuits, but they had expert testimony from both sides to establish the value of the business and the purported damage and all that kind of stuff. It was a very expensive undertaking, but yeah,
Right.
Jump on that whenever you want.
So we'll yeah, but of course we'll be going through that. I don't know that expulsion is a relatively simple matter, especially in this case. If you have, the facts of this case are around African American students who allegedly, who seem to have broken into this bakery and were convicted for it, right? Like that was the.
Yeah, what happened was, and so the context is this: it was the day after the 2016 election, and that county was split almost literally 50-50. It had voted Democrat since 1984, or 88, excuse me. It had voted Democrat since 88. And Hillary Clinton won the county by like 100 votes out of 130,000 cast. Okay, so we're talking a very, very, very tight thing. So the Wednesday after, the student is in the bakery, and the bakery's like a general store. They sell all kinds of stuff. He steals a bottle of wine and is apprehended by one of the family members who owns the place. And at which point 2 women that are there, they jump in, and the 3 of them start beating the crap out of this guy. We know that because the officer that they called the officer to testify, who responded, and he testified that when he got there, they were beating the crap out of him, throwing haymakers at him. I mean, just wearing him out. So the idea that he violently assaulted them is insane, and that's an important fact later on. This officer, interestingly enough, was also there during the riots that happened afterwards, the protests, whatever you want to call them. And so, and the police report is quite detailed and just says, yeah, so that's what happened. So this is on the Wednesday, and then the protests and stuff started a day or so later and just went on and on.
Right. Well, one thing I wanted to get to with in reference to the super chat is, when you have an event that then is followed by a racially charged protest, simply expelling the students who are of a minority race might actually cause you more trouble as a university, not just from the perspective of the fact that like the public perception of the events, but if the university were to expel these students, they may be facing a discrimination lawsuit, whether it's meritorious or not. Those students would presumably raise the case that they're being expelled because of their race. I mean,
well, how do you expel a student for doing what you encouraged them to do?
well,
See, I mean,
yeah.
that, in this particular case, that's the problem.
Right, but if we were talking about like mitigating so like the students go over to the bakery, steal the wine, have all this altercation, and then they go back. The university hears about it and just expels the student outright prior to making any encouraging remarks. It's one way to try and deal with it, but they may actually have some issues dispelling a minority student due to a racially charged event.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that a university would have a right to expel it. Well, it's a private university, so but like a state university anyway, you really can't expel students for exercising their First Amendment rights. If the students want to go out there and protest that business peacefully, that's just them exercising their rights. I would be I wouldn't be real happy with any university that tried to govern the conduct of its students off campus like that. But this case, as I said, this case is it's a misconduct of the university officials. I have to say, shocking misconduct. No, it's not shocking. It's just extreme. That adults would act this way, I guess, is my.
The internet has shown me that adults will act however they need
to. True that. True that.
Ink Penification says, Racket, check your Discord and Twitter DM. So I have one question. How did you meet Ty? And is he familiar with Drexel or the Big Brain panel? Are you familiar with? Are you familiar with Drexel at all? I mean, you've never met him.
I've never met him, but I've watched him on your show a couple times. And the Big Brain panel. That's the other lawyer buddies of yours, right?
Yeah.
Oh, they're a riot. I like those guys. In fact, I think I told you one time. Tell them if they ever want to practice law in Texas, give me a call.
Well, I was withholding that till I could get something out of them.
Oh, okay. Well,
thanks for spoiling
maybe they're not watching this show.
Yeah. No,
they're very good.
Yeah, they're all great. Drexel's great. He says it's the DM the DM club of cool lawyers. I agree. I'll check my Discord and Twitter DMs. How I met you? I mean, I guess just I have family in the same town where Ty is. Some of those family have been familiar with Ty for a very long time.
Yes, that might be the safest thing to say.
Yeah. So there you go. Let's see. Melidius says, insert something witty here to remind Nick to plug Vic's GoFundMe. So yes, of course, the GoFundMe is still trucking along. It's at 176,000 something last I checked. I'll check it right now real quick. But I don't like to plug the GoFundMe while Ty is on the show just because I don't want any weird... I mean, I get them anyway, but I don't want any weird accusations of an apparent conflict. There is no conflict in raising money. But that's, it's at $176,860. So it's doing great. We're closing in on the goal of 200,000. And every single dollar is appreciated and is being spent effectively, despite what people on Twitter may say. I wish I were actually planning on taking it and running to Tahiti with Ty. That sounds like a great buddy cop movie waiting to happen. Yeah. But no, No, it's
Trying to
not.
figure out giving up 2 law degrees though for $175,000. I really don't see the value proposition there.
Yeah, it's on balance, 2 law degrees cost more than $175,000,
Yes,
and
much more.
and the income potential from them is also higher than that. So
Well, we
uh,
hope.
it's
We
not.
hope.
Yeah. Mandolin says, "Hey, Ty, my fellow Texan, the stars
Hey,
at night are big and bright."
deep in the heart of Texas.
There you go. You didn't clap.
I,
This
I,
isn't.
I didn't go.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
you didn't really bust out the full Pee Wee Herman thing.
no,
Uh,
no, no.
Ryan Mercado says, when are you going to talk about Discovery? Well, the Discovery stuff happens tomorrow, so I figured I'd wait until then.
Yeah.
And I don't know what information will be available on Discovery specifically. Maybe you can tell me this about Texas.
Sure.
So you served interrogatory and admissions requests during the at the service of the complaint, the summons and petition. Do they serve the interrogatory, or do they e-file the
They serve
responses
them,
to those?
but we don't file discovery unless there's some reason to do so. And typically, I think Tarrant County, you have to get the court's permission. They don't
Sure.
want thousands and thousands and thousands of pages of stuff cluttering up their systems and stuff.
Right.
But if it's a very contentious case and you're going to get into a squabble over what was actually produced and all that crap, then yeah, you would file it. But no, it'll just be a service thing. But I'll let you know.
Sounds good.
You know,
Sounds good.
that-
So we'll
anything.
see. And again, if there's the other side has said they want everything public, but that doesn't necessarily mean everything will be public.
No.
So,
Um,
but that's just the information that comes out. I will be as open and forthright with you guys about what I have as possible, and it'll be up to them. Maybe when they serve their answers, they'll just go ahead and produce them. Right? They might just do that.
Yeah.
They want it all to be public, so they have an opportunity to do that in the way that they want. So, but I will be talking about that discovery tomorrow or Tuesday, depending on what information can be attained. One Man Band says, "Looks like my state managed to do something right for once. Perhaps Oberlin should fire Meredith Rambo to offset the costs."
right. Yeah. Ramundo, actually.
Well, I don't know how to pronounce that, and
Yeah,
she
it's
kind of
spelled
looks like
funny.
Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, she didn't appear. Now, the photographs were not particularly flattering, and photographs are always tricky because you're literally catching someone at an instant in time.
Mm-hmm.
But every photograph I've seen of her, from whether they were hostile sources or positive, she did not look like someone that a jury would find sympathetic.
Right.
There's just an arrogance that so many university administrators can, in many cases, inadvertently affect. Lawyers are bad about that too.
You can call it that. I'll call it she's ugly. I saw the picture and
Well,
you don't have to do that, but I will. That is a hideous looking person. And I think that
her behavior, her behavior is genuinely is appalling.
Right.
In this case.
Right.
No question about that.
Also ugly. And if you guys don't think that matters, it definitely does. It really
does. It does.
If you are afflicted by ugly, like me, for example, if I went to court as a witness, for example, I would have rhinoplasty and I would have a better nose put on.
Yeah.
No, you should honestly, like the
appearance matters a great deal, actually.
Yeah, I'm saying this as a joke, but if you are a person who is not blessed with Hollywood style looks or whatever, you should do what you can to make yourself look very presentable.
That's an interesting point. She didn't bother to do any of that. I mean, she looked almost unkempt.
Yeah.
And I'm jumping ahead, but in the university strategy of trying to position her as a very thoughtful, competent, professional administrator, she really didn't look the part. And of course, her actions and her internal communications certainly did not support that assessment.
I've rudely covered up your picture with her face for just a minute, but that's what she looks like, guys. So you can you can see what we're talking about, or what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I can't see it. So.
Ty is ever the diplomat. Ty is ever the
Yeah,
diplomat. I
that's
am.
me.
I am not.
Diplomacy is my middle name.
Yeah. Oh, this might be a good time. Speaking of that, I do have to talk to you about your last
Yeah,
appearance on the show.
yeah,
There was some feedback, if you will, amongst multiple circles.
yeah,
So you came on the show the other day, and you were spitting some hot fire.
yeah. Kind of was.
What you want to talk about that at all?
Sure, why not?
Because I know
Well,
you to be fairly calm and collected most of the time.
yeah. Well, I like anybody else. I can certainly get my hackles up. I have buttons like anybody else. It had been a long day, of course. I'm not blaming this on that. The conduct of certain individuals I found less than appropriate, and I respond. I think, though, Nick, what we're really dealing with here is that it occurs to me that not everybody in the whole country practices law the way the Texas lawyers that I work with practice law.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
I don't really know how to say it any better than that, but
Wait,
we
let me
still have
try.
something.
Let me
Okay,
try.
okay, I can't wait.
It's kind of like you're saying you lost your temper, but you're saying you didn't lose your temper. Texas lost your temper for you.
You know, I, that's probably that's probably fair. um, well, I mean, you've been down here. You know how it is. We're still in many ways a frontier society. I mean, at least in our attitudes, and men just don't talk trash to each other down here without there being consequences. I mean, we've had legendary lawyers get into fistfights in depositions and stuff. We had a fist fight in my own office one. Lacey's very first deposition she was ever part of. And I mean, so perhaps I could have been a little more, what's the word? uh, maybe a
Boring.
little, yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Now, you know, here's the thing. I mean, one day in the future, I'm going to be, telling my young grandson who got pissed off about something and did something foolish. I'm going to say, now look, young man, you can't just go around losing your temper. And he's going to bring your video up,
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go. Crap.
You'll eat it.
So I mean, yeah, yeah. I was upset, and if it got on any of our supporters and allies' nerves, I apologize. For the other side, couldn't care less. I
Yeah.
mean, everything I said, I absolutely would say to those guys. They. There was one thing though that I would like to address, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I feel bad about this. I did violate some social norms with the Kiwi Farms guys, and I think they very graciously have given me a mulligan on this. I did not in any way mean to take them for granted or disrespect them at all. They've been of immeasurable help in this case.
Yeah.
By
And
archiving all that stuff for us, and I have nothing but respect and regard for them. So, guys, sorry for my ineptitude. But you were tripped over. You weren't kicked.
something.
So yeah,
Well, there you go. Yeah. That there's been much made of those
yeah,
two things, which to me, I don't actually find either of them particularly crazy or out there. I mean, aside from you just boomering the not your personal army thing, that's but
well,
like that's yeah, that's
yeah.
like going outside and telling no, I don't even know how to say this. Never mind. I'm gonna avoid it.
Well, I'll say this. I'm the head of an organization. Probably don't need to get quite that excited about stuff.
Yeah.
I don't actually. I really don't like it. I mean, when I go off like that, doesn't happen often. And when I do and it's done, I'm like, oh man, what'd you do that for? But honestly, the other side was they pushed my buttons. They attacked me. And look, you can attack me all you want to. That woman out in California, whatever her name is, she's making fun of my name on a daily basis. Honey, knock yourself out. I grew up in East Texas with the name Percy. I promise you, you can't say anything I hadn't heard 100 times. I've got dental work uh, as a result of that name. Other people have got dental work as a result of that name too. You win some, you lose some. I don't care about that stuff. I find that kind of like, oh, isn't that cute? But yeah, I mean, if you attack my firm or my people, what really I think sent me off was, that purported attorney attacking another client of mine who's not related to this case in any way, apparently just because he knows me.
Yeah.
And I got that news in the stream, while we were talking, and it pissed me off. I'll try to do better.
Yeah. How dare you get mad on my show?
Yeah,
This,
I know.
Ty, this is the soothing yoga hour where we have.
It's you're the Bob Ross of lawsplaining.
When you get angry here, Ty, you have a happy little kale chip. You just go ahead.
Yeah.
You have that.
Happy little trees.
You count to 10 twice if you need to. I wouldn't ask you to count to 20, but I'll ask you to count to 10 twice.
Yeah, there you go. Well, and like I said, I want to be real clear. I don't apologize for anything I said to those other people. I'd say that to them again. I'd say it to their face. I believe every scathing comment, even the ones about appearance, were accurate and defensible. And no, you get no apologies on that. But now I really just shouldn't have let it get to me like that. But
I've started referring to one of them as Cuck Lightyear, mainly because of some fan art that came in. So anyway,
I don't know. Is it as good as a prick with ears? That apparently resonated.
That was also very funny.
So my daughters came up to the convention the next day after that thing, and I called them and said, where are y'all at? And Brittany goes, Dad, what did you do last night? And I go, oh boy.
Don't ever ask that question, daughter.
Yeah. Like, come on, guys. Well, what did you say? I said, well, I'm kind of going to call him a prick with ears. What? So anyway, so I had to do some damage control on that as well.
Okay. Dirk Lamont says it's okay to be a white Christian. Our Line blog archives 2019-6 The War on the Cross.php Trump 2020. So there you go. That's from
the Powerline guys are lawyers, and they do some good stuff.
Oh, okay.
I don't always agree with them, but they're the Paul Mirengoff and the other guy, very, very sharp attorneys. They were instrumental in breaking the Dan Rathergate thing all those years ago when the guy tried to, last week of the election, the guy tried to foist off documents that he typed up in Microsoft Word as, actual documents that made George Bush look bad. And the problem is you could replicate those documents by the default settings of Word, just typing it in.
Yeah.
And they were instrumental in exposing that.
Brian Dewig says, you mean this isn't monopoly money? No, sir. No, sir, it's not.
Whoops.
Blaine 20 says, Ty, if you can comment and without sidebarring too much, how do you and the good senator feel? How do you and the good senator feel about the lying brats tagging you two in their shenanigans on Twitter? Do you want to comment on that or no?
Whatever. I mean, the senator's a public figure. He deals with critical folks all the time.
Are you telling me
not a big deal?
Republican senator in Texas might have had people say things about him
on the internet?
On the internet?
Yeah, okay. It has been known to happen. Nah, it doesn't bother us. They can waste their time if they want to.
Yeah, this is a funny thing. I guess people think that a lawyer having other lawyers disagree with them is new.
Yeah, well, that's a way to put it. That's right. Of course, that was the same kind of perplexion we had with people thinking that lawyers were required to be nice. I'm like, how many lawyers do you know?
Right. Well, this idea, like some other lawyer over here disagrees with you. Yeah. Welcome to the reason we all exist, because we don't agree, and we will argue vehemently both sides of it. I mean,
my only thing is I don't mind anybody disagreeing with me. And I've always said, if I'm wrong about something, for heaven's sake, let me know, because I will change. I'll change my strategy, but I'm going to need something more than you're just wrong because I said so. And what little, and I don't, as you know, my Twitter involvement is fairly modest.
Right.
But from what I can tell, there are no specifics. And it's like, guys, okay, fine. You could be replaced by a bot and nobody would know the difference. That's not a compliment.
Right.
You know.
Okay, Dorby says if a lawyer who is not licensed to practice in Texas gives legal advice to a litigant in Texas, which bar association should they be reported to, and what process would kick in? Would the Texas bar refer to another state's bar association? You always would report. Well, actually, I guess you could report a lawyer in the state where they are allegedly practicing. That's a weird,
because they're practicing law without a license, arguably.
and
That
board,
jurisdiction is the problem, though, right? I mean,
yeah,
what jurisdiction would the State Bar of Texas have over you, for example?
right. I
mean,
can't think of any.
Yeah,
I mean,
they could issue a nasty letter, and you could tell them to go pound sand. I mean,
if it'd be interesting though, they
can
could
be
do
prosecuted for
right. That's the question. You can be prosecuted. Here's the thing though, guys. If you're not involved in the suit, we've seen this over and over, right? With the ethics complaints that come into me, and apparently you and I are getting new ones, so that'll be nice. But the ethics complaints, one of the first questions I ask: are you a party to the suit? Is this lawyer representing you or the other party? If those questions are no, the overwhelming majority of people should butt out. So ethics complaints to a random lawyer on Twitter who's giving his opinion, even if it's crass and rude, which is fine. Lawyers are often crass and rude people. I don't think there's a referral that needs to be made. And if a state is interested in prosecuting someone for the unlicensed practice of law, that would be up to that state to do so. And and
I'm not a huge fan of taking people's ability to make a living away just because you disagree with them. I wouldn't want our side doing that. I mean, if they want to, they can, but I find that very distasteful.
Yeah, because if you took someone's income away, they might have to crowdfund like basic medical equipment. That's not a good thing. We don't want to see that. Albert Reed says, love the show. Thanks for all the great lawsplaining. Hope to send you one of my favorite bottles, Aberlour Abunda, single malt Scotch whiskey. Till then, have a super chat. Hey, thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. Swarm069 says, C.S. Lewis said it best. Of all the tyrannies, a tyranny sincerely exercised for the good of its victims may be the most oppressive. Maybe better to live under robber barons.
That quote.
Yeah, it may be better to live under robber barons than under the omnipotent moral busybodies, which is
because they never sleep.
Right.
That's Lewis says it far more eloquently, but yeah, they will torment you to death if they think they're doing it for your own good.
Yeah, absolutely. BG Corporation says, I have a question. If Kessler Collins fired Casey, couldn't another lawyer apply anti-slap to stop Veronica's deposition? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think anybody got fired. I don't know what's going on. I don't think anybody got fired. Yeah. Lawyers move from firm to firm a fair amount. It's it's absolutely not uncommon. I think the court would enforce though these agreements as agreements between parties, not specific lawyers.
Right. If you could get out of party agreements by replacing your lawyer, we would have a really problematic
interesting legal system, wouldn't we?
Yeah. I would not want to practice in that at all. Casey was the one who said he had no intention of doing so, but with him no longer there, someone else can. I mean, in theory, you could try anything, but again, this is speculation that I think goes well beyond the scope of the information that we have.
No, and the thing is, too, remember that the court didn't rule on any of the motions.
Mm-hmm.
So that's still hanging out there. The anti-slap statute would allow us to ask the court to let us do discovery anyway. It's just that I didn't want the tactical disadvantage of having to wait 2 or 3 weeks for a hearing. I'm not worried about that. I don't think. I mean, anything's possible, but I don't think there's any stratagems going on here. I think apparently, and again, the source for this information is actually notably wrong on almost everything. So I really don't want to get into speculation. I mean, because if we interpret his statements the way they should be interpreted, he is still at Kessler Collins.
Right.
Because everything that guy says is wrong.
Exactly.
So anyway,
my collar's just fine. This is a cheap polo, guys. It doesn't. There is no fix the collar. I'd have to blowtorch it.
Now this is an expensive fishing shirt. I had a It's a gift from a
Well,
client.
your collar's flipped up, and if that's an expensive shirt, that's your fault. This is a
No, it's a fishing shirt. It's actually designed. It's got like
yeah, but your
it
collar
breathes
was
and it's
you
got.
fixed it.
Oh, okay.
You got
Yeah,
it.
well, listen. At least I don't have my glasses and my lanyard. And anyway.
Right.
Oh, to the farms. Thank you so much for that photo of me. Glasses everywhere.
I like
I
the
suppose. I
backhand head
suppose that's.
scratch. The backhand
Yeah.
head scratch got me.
Yeah. I suppose that's fair.
Uh,
You'll note though that I don't have glasses or lanyard or anything today.
yeah.
I'm just going to deal with the eye strain.
Aztec01 says, my brother worked as head of IT security at Oberlin several years back. He said, one, it's worse than they are presenting. The school is absolutely psychotic. And two,
Yep.
it couldn't happen to a nicer group of people.
Yeah, what's interesting in this case were the number of Oberlin, former Oberlin employees, retired professors, and so forth that came in this case, that testified in this case. These people were, basically batshit crazy. That's my characterization. But yeah, it's apparently it's an extremely social justice infested university.
Always fun. Always fun. I can't imagine wanting to go anywhere other than that.
Yeah.
Tabby296 says, couldn't hug Todd Habercorn this weekend, but I watched his panels and heard that he stayed for the autograph sessions for about 6 hours yesterday. That's fantastic.
Wow. Good for you, Todd.
Yeah, good job, Todd. And guys, remember, I don't talk about Todd too much lately because his case has been pretty quiet so far, but
right.
do continue to support him.
That condition won't continue for much longer.
Yeah, I had a feeling.
Yeah.
But when people are asked to be quiet and then they decide to persist with a very ridiculous lying narrative that has been shown to be untrue, it's
now I am of course terribly upset. I don't think I'm going to get a Christmas card from that person.
Well, I don't think that person could crowdfund a Christmas card, to be honest.
Okay.
Darkman
that was not planned.
Darkman McKetchface says, Nick and Ty, I'm looking to start a business and have legal questions that need answered. Any recommendations for business lawyers in Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky region? Also, Nick, I got an 18-year-old bottle ready. Hope to hear back from you.
Don't know any attorneys that are licensed there, I don't think. The good news is business, you should be able to find, what I would suggest is,
get someone in Kentucky, don't you?
Yeah, but they're not business lawyers. They do other. Yeah. Look for someone that just says, business law, business organizations, corporations, that kind of thing. You'll find them. It's not too hard.
Sure. Let's see. DCV Titan says, due to this tweet, should we add avowed rapist or admitted rapist before every mention of T. Greg Duchette's name? Wouldn't it be funny if that started being the top search result? I mean, if he says it's not defamatory, the problem is he's wrong. The problem is he's wrong on that.
Don't take his advice.
Yeah,
ironically,
I cannot. We're not supposed to even be talking about this that much, but I can't take it. If you impute the character to the point where you convince other people that someone is a pedophile, a child molester, or a sex offender, you are committing defamation. And it might
per se, which is important, guys.
Yeah, that's an element that we haven't discussed too much.
Again, and I'm getting distracted on this too. The question to ask these people, because after all, I'm calm today. The question to ask these people is very simple. Well, then give us an example of defamation that you would of a statement that you would agree is defamatory. Because I think you've said this. Obviously, some of these folks they apparently don't think there's such thing as defamation, which would surprise Oberlin College among others.
Yeah, it would surprise lots of people. It would actually surprise a Tarrant County jury to find out that defamatory statements didn't exist. The truth is, here's the reality. If you say something as an insult, it's probably not defamation. If you're in an argument with someone, you're like, oh, shut up, pedo, or whatever, or they like lolly, so you call them a pedo or something, that's probably not let me be clear. It is defamatory. Under the definition, defamation is any statement which would tend to reduce the person's reputation in the eyes of a reasonable person. So that's defamation. Whether it's actionable legally or not is a different question, or whether there's a valid defense to it. Some defamatory comments that are actionable legally do have a valid affirmative defense. These are steps that are all being compressed due to the nature of Twitter. But here's the thing. If you keep calling someone a pedophile and actually create this idea that another person, that a reasonable person would assume is a factual assertion, you actually very well could be sued for defamation, depending on a bunch of factors. But
right, but yeah, I mean, saying that someone is a sexual predator, and the context is clear that you are actually accusing him of being a sexual predator. Come on, guys.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
What law school did you go to?
That's not an insult. That is and here's the thing that hasn't been really discussed on Twitter very much, because one, it's not profitable to discuss this on Twitter with a suckbag who is just watching his analytics and happily pounding his hand. It doesn't.
And unfortunately, OSHA has put a strict limit on the number of idiots I can interact with. So I can't be of much help to you, Nick, because I've already maxed out the monthly limit in the second week.
That's fine. You don't need to, because they don't need engagement. They're speaking in very general terms about something that it's partly true. If it's an
they're not
insult,
acting like lawyers; they're acting like propagandists.
Right.
Not even really good propagandists. I mean,
if there's an insult, well, the best way to propagandize to a particular community is to reiterate to that community that you hate all of them at the same time.
Yes. Is that how that works? Okay.
Yeah, because if you notice, these guys are talking about how much they hate anime fans and how smelly and disgusting anime fans are, which is, I mean, that's how I would ingratiate myself to a community that I'm trying.
It is a brilliant strategy. I do have to agree. I may have to rethink my characterization of them as being dumber than stumps.
But here's the thing. A comment can either be an insult or a fact statement. The same comment can be one or the other. How you go to prove that is the same way you go to prove any other fact. And I can point to a very great lawyer, actually, who you can ask about that, or ask by watching on YouTube one of his interviews, which is Trey Gowdy. And he was talking about Hillary Clinton's stuff. And especially it was after what's his face came out and said that they didn't find any evidence that Hillary Clinton had intentionally deleted emails or whatever, or they just decided that they wouldn't charge her. And Trey Gowdy said, wait a minute, if we just assume that everybody who says no or claims ignorance is actually ignorant or actually didn't mean it, how would we ever prove intent? The intent is proven by circumstantial evidence, by supporting comments, by other witnesses. You can do all sorts of things to prove what the intent of a statement was, and you can even look at the outcome of that statement to help prove the intent of it.
You know, if you put the best gloss on this that you can, I just had an epiphany. One thing that seems consistent with these guys is, I don't know that they have much experience with normal people or normal juries, because a lot of to the extent they're actually specific in their arguments, they're awful, abstract and theoretical. Right. Here's the thing. You're going to ask someone, in their 40s who's owned a business or has worked for a company and has climbed up the thing, those are the people that are going to decide if this stuff is defamatory ultimately. And you can sit there and theorize all you want to that the word "he is a rapist" is a mere insult. You can say that all you want to, but come on, a jury of normal people are going to reject that, just like they did in that Tarrant County case that you talked about. The plaintiffs lost that case because somebody made some glaring procedural mistakes, but the merits of the case, the plaintiffs won. All we have to do is, we want to get this to a Tarrant County jury. We have total confidence.
So that's what we have to say about that. But anyway, again, killing a lot of time.
I know. Let's get to Oberlin, shall we?
Yep, I'm almost there. I've got let's see,
Okay.
one more that I should read. Wait, like three more that I should read right away. I'll get through them quickly. Siren Jag says, yes, I know about not engaging strange YouTube lawyers. However, my ego would not let it go. And I'm still waiting for that answer from Greg Doucette, naming those many Texas lawyers who generally agree with him. Owning him felt good. Well, everybody,
I get you, brother. I get you.
everybody on Twitter who says their Texas lawyer is. Remember that. Dark1005 says falsehood flies and truth comes limping after it, so that when men come to be undeceived, it is too late. The jest is over and the tale hath had its effect. Jonathan Swift. Travis the Bard says, how many complaints did you both get, and can you make a novel with them? I've had 5, and I assume more.
I've only had 1 in this case so far, but I keep hoping I can catch you, Nick.
We'll see. The Gun Kid says, how do you feel about Doucette publicly calling Vic a pedo on Twitter? Again, he's being disingenuous because that's what he is.
Yeah, he's no one that would have any standing to know, right?
And he's just using it as a pejorative insult rather than a fact statement. And even when he says, look, I'm making a fact statement, no one believes him. And that's actually part of it, is that no one would believe his take on it. He
has shown no reason that he would have any way of knowing that fact, right?
Right.
He's.
All right, and last one, and then we should really get into this case.
Yeah.
Matthew Niedig says, Dad celebrated 25 years as a pastor today. Raise your glass.
Congratulations.
And toast a fellow man of faith and whiskey enthusiast.
I'll raise my pen.
He got me a bottle of Monkey Shoulder for graduation. Ever had it? I have actually. I was at the house of a Patreon supporter down in Amarillo, and we had a little Monkey Shoulder. It was very good. So cheers to your dad. All right, Ty.
Indeed.
We covered the basis of this case, which is the initial stuff. So talk to me about what happened.
Yeah, I'm going to blow through some of the big picture stuff. Basically, the facts I gave you were, these students, these adults were, robbed the place, then beat the crap out of out of one of the proprietors. This is in the police report. Then the university, the jury obviously believes that the university aided and abetted these protests that destroyed these people's business. And I'm going to jump around, but at the end of the day, the university's defense was extraordinarily disingenuous. Now, I don't know that I have a better defense, but it's analogous to, they start out, by saying, we're not responsible for what our students do. Well, that's nice, except that's not what you're being nailed for. You're being nailed because you aided, abetted, orchestrated, organized, and supported and helped these students to destroy somebody's business. It would be kind of, an analogy I would use would be like saying, well, yeah, I threw gasoline on the fire, but it's not my fault that the building burned down because I didn't start the fire. Key to Billy Joel song.
Right.
But really, that at the end of the day, that I don't know what, the plaintiffs had a very, very good trial lawyer. He clearly did an outstanding. Lee Placus is his name, and I'd like to meet him because I'm just what I've read. He did a hell of a job. He had some great stunts in here in the case too that worked out well. But here was the university's fundamental problem. They had this Dean Raimundo. She had been a student. She'd been in her job like 5 or 6 days. And they have witnesses having her out there in the protest with a bullhorn, egging the students on and handing out flyers. Okay.
Yeah, she had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, but she's a reasoned professional. So just got to kind of flip through some of the high points. So they had a newspaper reporter saying, "Yep, she gave me the flyers." The university apparently tried to coerce the bakery into dropping the charges against these students.
That's a good plan.
Yeah, well, here's the deal. They would, first of all, so this business had been in existence for 135 years. Okay, 5 generations of this family have owned this bakery. So you're talking about a family that would have to be extremely well known in the community. The university had directly or indirectly done business with this bakery for over a century. Okay, so I mean, this is one of these things where, Americans generally still tend to be very, they tend to hold business owners, small business owners, in high regard. Um, so right out of the chute, you've got a very sympathetic plaintiff. You've got the university engaging in what I would characterize as extortion. I mean, the university immediately, interfered tortiously. When I'm making these statements, I'm saying, you can read into it. What I'm saying is the jury found this, but the university interfered with their contracts with this other company. They damaged their business, and they basically said, if you'll drop all charges against the students and agree that in the future you'll call us, not the police. You know,
Why would
and
you call the police when you could call a bunch of professors?
yeah, yeah, and Lee Plackus did a great summation on the last day of his case in chief, where he asked the owner, the son. So you got grandpa, you got. Yeah, I need to get my terminology right. So you had Alan, who's the grandfather. He's like 90. You had David, who is Alan's son, 64. Then you had another Alan who's younger than him, and so it gets a little bit confusing. So I'm just gonna say grandpa, dad, and son. If that helps. So they asked dad, I think it was, well, why didn't you just give in? And he said, well, I'm not going to be basically, bleep that. I'm not going to let them, blackmail me like that or something. But, clearly that's something that would resonate with a jury of normal people.
Right.
This Raimundo woman, they called her as an adverse witness. And this is one of Plackett's great little stunts.
Oh,
Yeah.
can I do one thing real quick and
Sure,
go
sure.
through just let me just tell people the causes of action
Oh,
uh,
yeah. I didn't
that
even
are
jump
out
to that.
there.
Yeah.
So the first count is libel, which is written defamation. Second count is slander, which is spoken defamation. The third count is tortious interference with business relations. The fourth count is tortious interference with specific contracts. The
Mhm.
fifth count is deceptive trade practices. My understanding, without reading into the law of this one, my understanding is typically whenever a business engages in a tort against another business, they end up with a deceptive trade practice tack on
Yeah,
sort of
yeah,
charge.
and it usually doesn't work, but
Right.
and I don't think it worked in this case.
Uh,
But
Count six is intentional infliction of emotional distress, which is a
mm,
very high bar. I'm not sure if they met that one or
I
not.
think they did. I think they did meet it with at least one of the defendants.
That means you're a real
I mean,
pile
with
of trash
plaintiffs.
if
Yeah,
you
it really does.
if you do that. Count seven is negligent hiring, retention, or supervision.
I don't think that the plaintiffs prevailed on that cause of action, but I would not have been able to resist including it if I
Yeah,
were them in the
yeah.
petition.
That's when you get to legally tell people that they're really
That their
bad at their
employees are
job.
imbeciles.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Count eight is trespass, and that seems to be based on basically a right of access that the
yeah.
plaintiffs had to a portion of the parking lot at the college. So those are the cause of action. So you have slander and libel. You have both types of tortious interference. You have intentional infliction of emotional distress. You
Those were
have
the
and
yeah,
you
and those were the ones I think that they actually prevailed on.
right.
Uh,
Let me real quick talk about IIED. So intentional
yeah,
infliction of emotional distress is where you engage in and this is a high bar. This is a higher bar typically than defamation, at least in my opinion, because what you have to prove is that the conduct that someone engaged in was so outrageous given the situation that they're in that it's beyond what normal people would consider to be decent or
yeah,
normal
yeah. It's
behavior.
I mean, and it has to be really, really awful behavior.
Right,
Um,
right.
yeah, this is tragic too. The 90-year-old grandfather, he in the weeks after this all started, this went on for a long time. This wasn't just a little one-time event. Someone beat on his window, his house, and he went to find out what was going on, and he slipped and broke his neck.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, he's able to get around, so I guess he didn't completely sever his spine or anything. But so you see him, he's in a neck brace, and I mean, just and they never did figure out who was people were throwing rocks at their houses and shit like that. I mean, it was an appalling situation, and I must say a very strong argument for a robust Second Amendment.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
but that I don't want to get off into that. But yeah, I mean, this was the conduct of the university officials, assuming that you agree with the jury, and I do, was nothing short of just absolutely appalling and slimy and scummy in the worst possible way, and absolutely consistent with these social justice idiots. Absolutely consistent. Every one of the classic cliches about them are on display in this case. Um, so sorry, I
No,
jumped in, but
that's fine. Real quick, Nova Zero says TLDR. So too long didn't read since you don't understand the internet, you weirdo. Says fan the flame, get the blame. Oberlin College. That many isn't yours anymore. Money, I think he means. Money isn't yours
yeah,
anymore.
yeah. It was 3 million to Alan, and I guess that's the younger Alan. 5.8 to David, that's the father, and then the business itself was 2.27 million.
Good.
So, yeah, yeah. And well, I'll jump ahead. What's really funny is I actually agree with the defense that the business probably wasn't worth anywhere near that amount. But the problem is that the defense had an inferior expert witness, and again, the plaintiff appears to have had an outstanding one because he got away with some stuff that it's pretty amazing.
So do you think then that this case will get appealed 100%? There's no way a
Yeah,
university is
but
going to pay it out. Do you think they can mitigate the damages from the? Because one of the ways you can appeal a damage or a jury award is if you say that. But that'd be like
I
judgment
don't. Here's the
JNOV. It'd
problem.
be different.
These are all fact findings by the jury supported by expert testimony.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how you the plaintiff put on a qualified business valuation analyst who said, this is what the company's worth. This is the damage done. The defense put on their expert that said no, effectively no damage was done. Um, the jury chose to believe the plaintiff's expert. I don't see how in the world you can prevail on some theory that's just so outrageous that it should be overturned. I mean, overturning a jury on appeal is virtually possible.
Yeah,
You know,
in Minnesota, we have a procedure for like basically eliminating the two expert question,
mm-hmm.
and it's I don't really like it, but it's basically if your expert can show superior qualifications to the other expert, your expert wins automatically.
Oh
Does
no,
Texas doesn't have anything like that?
no, God no. That's an awful rule.
Yeah,
Because guess what, guys? Credential doesn't mean shit.
right.
Some of the sharpest business people I know are not particularly well credentialed. Well, I'll give you myself. I've handled probably 70 or 80 merger and acquisition deals in my career. I really like those. Not all of them happened, and they range in size from a few 100,000 to a few 100 million. But as a result of all that, in the background I had before I went to law school and everything, I can get within usually 5% of what an appraiser will say a company's worth, just
Sure.
based on shit. But I'm not credentialed in any way. Um, I've actually been involved in several mediations where I've gone in and given my opinion to both sides, and I'm just, hey, y'all can pay an appraiser, and that's fine, but this is what I think it's worth. And so, yeah, that's an awful. That's beyond awful, actually.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of it.
Well, what I object to is it again, it puts a credential over the judgment of the jury. That's a
Yeah,
complete, and that's
it
that's
also really effectively enshrines a particular witness, especially
does
one
seem
that
a little
this,
bit like gatekeeping, doesn't it?
yeah, that the state uses in criminal cases frequently.
Uh-huh. Oh wow. I'm surprised actually if that rule would survive constitutional muster. How long has that rule been in effect?
A while.
Really
I,
interesting.
I'll, I don't typically most of the cases I deal with don't really need experts,
Yeah,
or we deal
yeah,
with them long before an expert is necessary. But yeah, I'll find
interesting.
the relevant. I'll find the case rule. It eludes me right now, but I'll find the case name and show it to you because you'll probably hate it.
Uh, yeah, I can already tell.
Yeah.
um, yeah, so and jump in with the super chats if you need to. I was just going to get to it because I'm going to have to run a little bit. But
Yeah.
what's striking to me about this case is my initial kind of monitoring it and everything, I'm sitting there going, my sympathies were clearly with the plaintiffs, no question. But I just kept going, God, the defense attorneys are idiots. And then after this case is over, I started really kind of pawing through my notes and everything. I started asking myself, how would you defend the university? I mean, no, you don't get to cop out by saying, well, I'd tell them to settle. Let's say you got hired and no, you got to defend them. Here's what you're dealing with if you're the defense counsel, okay? You've got a profoundly unlikable dean of students who is going to be able to be put by the plaintiff at the place operating a bullhorn and passing out flyers, okay? They had this other university, I can't remember his name. Anyway, he was like the vice president of communications for the university. He internally was yelling at professors who were questioning the university's attacks on Gibson, and basically fuck this person for this professor for saying it. Yeah, that was the other thing too. They dropped in these communications. They dropped numerous f-bombs in professional communications. Now, look, I'm not a prude. I personally don't swear in written communication. I consider swearing to be a verbal art. But the thing is,
it's about the inflection, really.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, swearing is an emotional verbal art. When I see someone type a cuss word, the first thing I think of is, you're like a 12-year-old trying to impress the high school kids. I mean, but in any event, but here's why this matters. Part of the university's strategy, legal strategy, was to portray these university officials as very sober, reasonable, competent, professional people. And again, Mr. Plackus just nailed her and said, "Well, is it professional and appropriate to use an f-bomb in professional communication? I mean, golly, don't you know that was a quiet moment?"
Yeah.
So
I only use words like wiener in professional communications.
Yeah. I have been known when I've been really angry in a professional communication, and it's to somebody that I know, I may put in brackets bleeping, but no, But I mean, that's the thing, right? You're trying to show these university officials in the best light, and so we're the hypothetical defense team, Nick, right? Okay, so now we've got pompous, unlikable, and that's my characterization. I really do want to hear from the jurors. I mean, this guy whose parents were witnesses on this, not jurors, witnesses. But I'm inferring that Raimondo was extremely unlikable. She was probably pompous. And that's another thing. Academic. Could I give you a little bit of advice?
They won't take it.
I know, but it made me feel better. You guys think you're the smartest thing in the universe, and that's fine. Maybe you are. But you really need to get rid of your arrogance when you walk into a courtroom, because you're in a whole different ball game, and you're up against people who are smarter and meaner than you. And academics don't seem to understand that. We run this on Twitter, not on Twitter, but on social media sometimes. I'm a professor of whatever, and I'm like, yeah, who cares? But
yeah, you're just any other idiot who's good at one thing. Thanks.
Yeah, and I'm trying, and of course, okay, doctor. Anyway.
Oh, real quick, you'll like this. My con law professor in law school said, we're all professors, but if we were any good at litigation, we wouldn't be professors.
What an honest man. I bet he was he a good professor?
Oh, he's the best. You'd actually love him. He's a world-renowned expert on the U.S. drone program, and was former general counsel for the CIA.
Interesting.
Harvard law grad, I think 1 year ahead of Obama.
Wow. Huh.
But John Radson, Afshin John Radson. He was.
We had a good con law professor too at SMU. He's a far lefty and made no bones about it, but he was a great professor. Really did like his class. He also taught bioethics. He was a big guy in that. But yeah. So anyway, I mean, so here we are. We're defense counsel for the university. Okay, we've got an arrogant, unlikable dean who is neck deep in this. Right, and we're trying to argue that although she threw gasoline on the fire, it's not our fault that the building burned down. That's tough. You've got internal communication, text messages, and I don't know the full. There were apparently a lot of them where they are talking about. I mean, this Raimondo woman at one point, she says, and I may be repeating myself because I'm kind of tired, but let's unleash the students. She says, I'd say unleash the students, except we kind of need to put this behind us. I mean, really? So how do you defend a client? The way I see it, Okay, you do the classic thing of we didn't do it, but if we did do it, there was no harm because the business wasn't worth anything. Okay,
Yeah.
um,
So
and that was
you got to get a good expert to hit up the business. I think another thing
yeah,
you've got to do is you've got to deflect as much as you possibly can onto the students, and maybe
mhm.
even try and you have to sell the jury on this, which means you need not not a shrill white lady running your as
Mhm.
your star witness.
Yeah,
I'm not sure based on the university staff. What I would suggest is because wasn't there there was an African studies department that tweeted something or something. I think I read that in the
yeah. I don't remember the specifics, but I remember reading that too.
what I would suggest is um, if you have like an African studies department person who is also likable. Those are two requisite things
Yeah,
that
yeah,
they come out and blame the students. And they say,
yeah.
look, the university was taking a position that we were trying to manage the learning environment in a way that was conducive to students and respective of their cultural and ethnic background, something like that. And you try and convince the jury that the school was basically
Yeah.
had to comply with the students' actions. Otherwise, they faced the similar treatment, and that would be detrimental to all of the other students.
Yeah, that's a big sell. A creative idea, no question. I mean, and better than anything I can come up with. Yeah, and they did try to do that. The university tried to explain the presence of their staff as they were trying to keep the students under control. But when you got a police officer saying, "Nah, she had a bullhorn out there and was giving these flyers out." Apparently, to give the defense credit, apparently they must have done something right because the videos of the actual student protest, I'm calling protests, they were riots actually. They apparently didn't get shown to the jury.
I would
Um,
think they'd make the argument that they would be, since it's a riot going on
yeah,
of other
and since the
people.
students weren't actually being sued, I
Yeah,
guess,
that would
but
be
many of them
prejudicial.
didn't really matter because they had the police officers there saying, "Yeah, we were on the verge of calling the riot squads out because it got out of control." I mean, it just here's the thing: the university was. See, this sounds familiar. They grandstanded in their pleadings. Okay, they popped off in their pleadings about the violent assault of their pleadings now
Right.
that their students were violently assaulted. Now you're looking at a police report where the cop flat out says they were beating the crap out of this guy 3-on-1. You have them indicted for felony robbery, and you have them pleading out to a pretty serious misdemeanor charge. I mean, but they doubled down and they
Yeah.
grandstanded. They were dismissive and arrogant to the family. Here's the thing, right? I know how I would at least try to go after this. I would do what I normally do and say, okay, what's the other side going to do? All right, well, if I'm the plaintiff, first thing off is you'll never hear the word Gibson Bakery from me again after I start talking. I'm going to be talking about the people. I'm going to
Right.
emphasize the family business, the survive. Oh, beautiful. He said, there's at one point he asked the economist or the business valuation guy for the university. He said this business has been in existence for 135 years. It survived the Great Depression, World War One, World War Two. It survived the Civil War. Don't you think that matters? And the guy goes, not for valuation. I deal in numbers, not emotion.
Oh, he handled
And
that wrong. He's
oh my
right.
God,
He's
oh they're
absolutely right.
he's absolutely right. But oh, for bleep's sake,
What do
okay,
you
let me help you out, Bob, or whatever your name is. Here's what you say. You say absolutely the reputation and the experience of the business would go into a goodwill value. And my analysis does weight that to some degree. But in the current climate, unfortunately, numbers drive valuations, not you know, not these kind of histories. But I do think they have some positive effect. But I think their expert got into this whole I'm going to disagree with every single thing that the plaintiff's lawyers say
Yeah,
or assert,
I think he
and
also
and
could have
and they just you know
I
it's
think
like
he
watch
Oh, go ahead.
fish. Well, they goaded him into being an obnoxious jerk. Okay. Oh, and they let him. Oh God. And the defense expert went on for 8 solid hours
Yeah, no, all of the jury is trying to play Minecraft
Well,
after
no, I
that.
mean, some of the witnesses in the courtroom said that about after the fourth hour, the jurors stopped, put their pens down, and stopped taking notes, and started staring at the ceiling and and all this. Even the judge remarked on, please let's move on.
Yeah.
But
No
here's where
one.
that's dangerous. At that point, the jury isn't listening to your expert.
Right.
Right? Now, the jury is only paying attention to the emotional sense of what's going on in there, and you've got apparently a pompous, expert blathering on and being needlessly confrontational. I felt like. I mean, look, the university's problem is they did it, right? So the defense team may very well have been actually very good lawyers, given what they had to work with. But I do think it was a terrible mistake on their part to be dismissive and sneering to the family. Um, yeah, what strikes me as interesting, looking at the numbers that the plaintiff's expert put up, there's no way that bakery is worth 5 million, which is what they said, or 11 million, what the jury said. That business was probably worth, my thumbnail based on experience, I would say that business suffered about $1 million of damage
Sure.
using current valuation methodology of businesses. And so the whole thing, maybe it's $1.5 million type thing. Their expert should have been able to make that case in 45 minutes or less. I
Wouldn't
could make that case.
wouldn't you, as a defense's expert, suggest that, especially in regards to the, well, look at the longevity of this business and everything? Wouldn't you say yes? And that's a huge credit to the family who run it. And
Sure.
the moment you buy that business from the family, you lose
Yeah.
that legacy,
There
and
were
therefore you lose the value that's built into the business.
Nick, there were 1,000 ways their expert could have shown an appropriate degree of respect to the family, and still made his point. They also so the business in 2016, before this happened, they had like 850 or $860,000 of revenue. Now, that's not profit; that's gross revenue.
Right.
Uh, they will end this year, according to their expert, at about 400. So the roughly 50% drop in business in 2 years. Call it 2.5 years. Well, they went back and said, well, the thing is, the business had declined somewhat before. Well, not exactly. What happened is like a lot of businesses, they had ups and downs. But let me draw it right. So here's if I'm the plaintiff, this is how I characterize the argument that the other side's making. Can you see this? Is this coming through?
Yep.
All right. So this right here is before the incident, right? Up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. Incident occurs, and that happens.
Yeah.
This is not the same as that.
No.
you know, I mean, and again, I would put that up on the whiteboard and just there it is. And they didn't appear to deal with that. Um, here's the thing: saying that a business that has survived for 135 years, that employs a dozen people, and provides $140,000 to the 3 or 4 families that work there a year of income, has virtually no value. That is not going to be bought by a jury. Now, the funny thing about it is, they're probably right. Because the thing is, if I buy a business that pays me the same salary that I could make working for somebody else doing the same job, I really haven't done anything but buy myself a job. It doesn't, the business isn't really worth anything, um, objectively. So it's entirely possible that business really didn't have any value, particularly if it didn't own real estate and all that kind of stuff. But again, try to sell that to a jury of normal people. That was crazy.
Right.
I actually mused with the idea of, what if you just admitted that you did it, right? I mean, what if you just admitted it was defamatory, and had a trial on the damages? I mean,
Okay.
that's
So
crazy, but
yeah, you take it and say, yeah, we did it.
and
The
then
family
fight
is,
over the.
yeah. Actually, what if you run with the narrative, right? And you say, well, we actually firmly believe that the way the family handled this was inappropriate, that they were racist. We know that the police report says this, but look at how police have been treating the African American community lately, and do you think that student got a fair shot at this? Like, I don't know that it would be effective in that community,
No,
but but
Yeah, I mean,
grandstand on it.
yeah. Well, and the problem, of course, is that the other side might not agree with the stipulation with those things applying to with those additional factors put in. That's another part of this that seems to be very clear too. Is the university appears to have been terrified that the students were going to go berserk, and I've read in other areas that that's increasingly becoming a problem with these woke universities. Is they have weaponized these kids, and now these kids are scaring the hell out of them
Yeah.
because, well, they have no conscience. I mean, these people actually don't. I mean, back to the rant from 3 days ago. You know, these people think that they think nothing of destroying someone's lives just because they disagree with them. Boy, how would you like to have those people in your classroom?
Have you ever seen the video of that Yale professor where they put out a thing that basically said, because it was Halloween was coming up, and they're like, don't culturally appropriate.
Yes,
And the Yale professor and his wife said something like, "Look, this is a university.
y'all are
You're
adults.
Yeah, y'all are adults, and you're gonna have people challenge your opinions." And then like there's a circle of people
Yeah, yeah.
around this guy, and like the one student is so exasperated that she's basically spitting with
Yeah,
every
yeah.
phrase right
And of
at
course
this guy.
he's sitting there trying to be nice. And that's where he and I would have differed.
Yeah.
About the third, MF she called me. I'd say, listen, you little. And then we. Well, I mean, really, because that's the thing. You can't be nice to rabid dogs.
That's why he's a Yale professor and not an A&M professor.
That's true. Yeah, yeah. But as my dear departed grandfather told me a long time ago, son, you don't pet rabid dogs, you shoot them. I mean, but I mean, that's what you're dealing with. The anger, the just out of control rage and anger that these little twerps were doing. I believe that eloquently argues for a robust Second Amendment. But anyway, I mean, so the university had their legal team just had a hell of a crappy case. Um, I don't. I'll continue to noodle on that. I really, they were the mistake they made is they were snotty and dismissive. That comes through with all the witnesses and stuff, and they should have anticipated that the plaintiffs would make this about the family, and they should have bent over backwards to say nice things about that family.
Yeah, it wasn't
You
like
know,
they were going against Pfizer or something, a
no, no. I
faceless
mean,
corporate entity.
no, no, no. I mean, you got, like I said, a 5 generation family business. And all these people look these. We talked about appearance earlier. Contrast the less than optimum appearance of Miss Raimondo. These folks were, the son, the 64-year-old. He was tall and had the gray mane of hair and very, I mean, these were nice looking, credible looking people, and
Right.
optics matter. You had the grandfather in a tragic 90-year-old man in a neck brace, talking about how he has worked in that business his entire life. His wife of 50 years, who didn't come on as a wilting flower, but just matter of factly told about the abuse and everything they were getting from students in the community and stuff. And I mean, it's just really, I mean, honestly, if I if everything the plaintiffs said about Oberlin was true, those administrators should be taken out and horsewhipped, then tarred and feathered. Okay, I really believe so many of our problems could be resolved, could be handled if we would just bring back dueling and tarring and feathering. If the entire administration of Oberlin ought to be fired. But
Right.
the problem is they don't think that anything wrong, and I don't think they threw Raimundo under the bus for the simple reason that they all agreed with it. I think that I think that you would probably find that they either at least tacitly approved of what she was doing,
Well, and this is
and
probably
you
this
know,
maybe this is the defense counsel's big fault, right? Because you see this coming out in other cases where you've got a company, say a multi-$100 million company. Universities are billion-dollar companies, really. I mean, that's what they
mhm.
amount to. Someone in the chat mentioned earlier their endowment fund is 887 million.
Okay,
Um,
so this is a drop in the bucket.
yeah, it's a billion-dollar university now. Spending, as you know, because you deal with families with high net worth and foundations and stuff like that. that over over expending yourself
Hmm.
is actually very unhealthy for a persistent fund like an endowment. And
Hmm.
so an $11 million judgment probably isn't that big of a deal. A $33 million judgment starts to be a bigger deal, especially when you consider that they're going to try and at least maintain their previous year's level of spending, if not increase it by a certain percentage.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
it's going to impact their ongoing operations unless they can replace that money
Well,
with
and
another
once
endowment.
again, that's a good point, and I agree completely. And another thing that we see in this case, of course, is also that discovery is itself the reward, right?
Right.
The university comes off looking like a bunch of utter bullies, elitist, snotty, arrogant, and by the way, utterly incompetent bullies. You know,
Right.
that is not the optical image I mean, those are not the optics that you want. I mean, please give us, please, Mr. Rich Donor, give us a bunch of money, so that we can bully small businesses in the local community.
Yeah.
You know,
Why are you guys asking me for a $2 million donation from my grandfather went there and
mm-hmm.
got his degree and went on to start a successful business. Oh, we'd really like a donation. What? Why? Like you want me to give you $1 million to pay off part of your defamation thing for bullying the bakery he went to
Yeah,
while going to school?
yeah. Oh, and before I forget, so let's don't. I'm going to have to wrap this up pretty quick. But
Yeah.
to me, here's the most WTF moment of this whole case was, all right. So they win the jury. The jury awards $11 million, which, by the way, was twice what the plaintiff's experts said the damages were. I feel confident in inferring that these people pissed the jury off something fierce. All right. So that judgment comes down. We're going to have the punitive damages phase, I think, on Tuesday. Okay, in this case, in between those two events, this idiot, this university, and I believe their in-house counsel is the one that decided this would be a good idea. They send a whiny, pissy letter out. If we talk about this case anymore later, you need to get that letter up there. Anyway, where basically they castigated the jury, saying, we're very disappointed the jury ignored our overwhelming evidence or something like that, right? I mean, just flat out said, the jury should have found for us and it didn't. But here's where this matters, right? Okay, the damages were compensatory. The $11 million. That's the harm caused by the university, according to the jury. Punitive damages are next. Well, Nick, you tell me. What's one of the big reasons we have punitive damages? What are we
Yeah,
trying to do?
the purpose of punitive damages is to make sure that the person at fault learns their lesson and doesn't do it again. It's punitive. It is
Right.
operant
That
conditioning rather than classical.
that letter effectively demolishes the defense's argument that we learned our lesson.
Yeah.
I mean, I would go and say, look, $11 million will hurt. Okay, we don't agree. You make some. Okay, we're disappointed in the verdict, but no one can take an $11 million hit and not learn something from it. Well, that's all fine and dandy, comes the plaintiff's attorney, and then waves this letter around where crystal clear they learned nothing.
Yeah.
That it
Now
was
they
just a
get to have it
stupid.
tripled.
Yeah, and I don't. I would assume it's a different. I got to look at procedurally how that works. I don't know if it's a different. God help them. It wouldn't be the same jury, surely. God help them if it were.
Oh God,
but
that
but
yeah, that'd be.
again, the,
Wouldn't it just be a judge, or
I think it.
would that be
Yeah,
a jury
yeah.
question?
Punitives. I don't know. I don't know. I'll look at that. But the bottom line is that was a needless beclowning. Okay.
Yeah.
Again, you and I are their hypothetical lawyers. Can't you imagine the cuss words in that phone call when you call to tell me what they did, or vice versa?
Right. Yeah.
Hey Nick, you'll never believe what our clients did today. Thank 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 God we got our retainer up front.
I'm
I
investing
mean
in
our
rope.
oh yeah, but again, these people are utterly defiant sociopaths because basically they personally are not suffering any consequences.
Timothy McDaniel says, from what he understands, it's the same jury. That's the guy whose parents were
Oh my
witnesses.
God. Oh my God. Oh, Mr. Mr. Placus is going to have a very good day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the plaintiffs' counsel just did a hell of a job. They had great facts. They had great clients. I mean, definitely the facts in the law were very significantly on their side. But that said, they really rose to the occasion. Um, he, I'll do one. You know, at one point he had Raimundo on the stand as an adverse witness, right?
Hmm.
And he shows the flyer, shows her the
Yeah.
flyer.
Here, I'll pull the flyer up
Yeah,
on the stream
yeah,
for.
show him the flyer. Okay, and he had printed it with a checkbox that says yes and a checkbox that says no. And he says, you know, you familiar with this flyer? Yeah. He said, do you agree with everything? If you agree with what's said in this flyer, check yes. If not, no, and sign it. And she hemmed and hawed, and she said, well, I don't know if I agree with it. He said, okay. So he draws in, I don't know.
Oh my goodness.
It does the same thing to a very virulent statement issued by the student senate. Yeah,
let,
that I had that underlined. I don't know.
let me read it real quick. It says, "Don't
Yeah,
buy. This is a racist establishment with a long account of racial profiling and discrimination. Today we urge you to shop elsewhere in light of a particularly heinous event involving the owners of this establishment and local law enforcement. Please stand with us." And then we've got the next phrase. It says, "A member of our community was assaulted by the owner of this establishment yesterday. A 19-year-old young man was apprehended and choked by Alan Gibson of Gibson's Food Mart and Bakery. The young man, who was accompanied by two friends, was choked until the two forced Alan to let go. After the young man was free, Alan chased him across College Street and into Tappan Square. There, Alan tackled him and restrained him again until the Oberlin police arrived. The three were racially profiled on the scene."
yeah. Apparently,
There's the three that aren't the old man.
yeah.
They were arrested without being questioned. That's actually not uncommon. Ask their
Well, the
names.
police had to break up. They were beating the crap out of the guy, according to the police report.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah. So anyway, so Placus then he finishes up. This is just one of these, you know. Okay, here's a shotgun. I want you to put it in your mouth. Okay, thank you. Here's a shell. Yeah, crack it open and put the shell in. Now pop it up. Now I want you to grab the trigger. So he asks her. He says, "Are there negative consequences from being unjustly accused of assault or being a racist when you aren't?" Her answer,
Whoa. Did Sorry.
yeah, her answer is it depends.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So again, Nick, while it's tempting to castigate the defense counsel, I just don't think Matlock or Perry Mason or even Johnny Cochran could have won this case.
The better answer is no.
Yeah,
Right? Like that's the
right.
answer.
You might as well. Yeah, you
She
might
should
as
have
well.
immediately said no.
Yeah.
Because who isn't racist? She should have said no because all these people are racist. No,
She.
racism is a spectrum, and
Here's the thing.
this person
The,
is autistically racist. That's what I would have said.
there you go. Well, I mean, again, and if you're preparing, if you're defense counsel, you or I would have. If we were working this case, we absolutely would have anticipated that they were going to pin her to the table and say, "Okay, professor, tell us about this negative treatment." Um, and I don't know that. Here's the thing: no wouldn't have been any worse than depends,
No,
and you might at least have gotten a little bit of respect for having the guts to stick to your conviction. But that was the other thing. See, this
there's
is this is
a
back to, this is back to my musing about maybe we just stipulate all this stuff. Is that her credibility was utterly obliterated at that moment. Okay, and she never got it back. I don't know how you could get it back.
what if she
So
would have said instead? What if she would have said it depends on the racist, just like that? Like, well, it depends on the racist.
I think opposing counsel, they got her on the stand as an adverse witness. They called her during direct, but she's an adverse witness.
Oh, so
I think
they're on
opposing
cross, so
counsel,
she's got a yes or no answer.
yeah, and I think they're entitled to insist on a yes or no answer. It's a pretty straightforward question. Are there negative consequences from being unjustly accused? She says, okay, well, that depends. You say, well, is it likely that there would be negative consequences from being falsely accused of this?
The second she said any other letter opening consonant sound than Y or N, I would say, excuse me. It's a yes or
Simple
no
question. Yeah.
question. Please answer yes or
Yeah. You
no.
either have to answer yes or no, or you can explain to us why you can't answer yes or no. That's that. But I mean, no, I think she would. That was the other thing too. Is apparently she tried to be evasive a number of times, and that's so cute. And bless her heart, as we say down here in the
Yeah.
South.
Yeah.
Anyway, I have nothing but just seriously high man crush on Mr. Plackus. He just did a hell of a job. I can't say enough good about that.
Yeah, hopefully he
Uh,
wins on hopefully he wins the punitive award. And
oh,
they
I,
I mean it
uh,
sounds like they're gonna have a well the university's helping out.
oh yeah, yeah. So again, I'm just kind of flipping through my notes. Some zingers here. I mean, uh, the plaintiffs put on a marketing expert who testified that she did a Google search of this bakery, and 27 of 30 results had the term racist attached to it.
Oh, that
Yeah,
sucks.
and she's saying in the current, with society evolving the way it has, that seriously damages a business, blah blah blah. At one point, so the expert for the plaintiffs basically said that over the next 30 years, this family will lose $5.8 million. And by the way, that is absolutely not the correct way to assess these damages. Okay, so on cross examination, the defense said, you know, something to the effect of, it's not appropriate to do it this way, is it? And the expert looked at him for a second and goes, "Do you understand my question?" And the expert says, "Yes. Do you understand my report?" Here's the thing. Again, pro tip: juries don't really like it when lawyers are assholes to witnesses, unless there's really good cause. I mean, if the witness is being evasive and obnoxious and all that. But if you're going to go be an asshole to a witness, you don't want to get owned like that.
No. You never
That's
want to witness clapback on a lawyer.
no, no, and it just um, they they got David up on the stand. He said he met with them 3 times, and he said all we asked. See if this sounds familiar. All we asked them to do was simply retract and say that we're not racist. That's all we asked the university to do, and they just wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
And the lawyer said, "Would you have resolved the case and all this?" He said, "Yes." So we just wanted to do our business. Um, and that apparently resonated with them. And the college's response is we'll consider it if you drop all the charges. And that made the college look awful bad too. Just the inherent coercion in that. We'll start buying the bakery products from you again, but only if you let these thugs walk free. And that was another thing too that was interesting. They put several African American representatives from the community, and they were like, these people were thugs. They were stealing from our merchants. That was the thing. There was no outrage in the community. Okay,
Right.
this was solely ginned up by these students. I would hate to live in that little town
Well,
with
you
those people.
never underestimate the skewed perspective of the ivory tower.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's what I was gonna say this earlier, but you were going so
Sorry, I was
well.
on a
No,
tear.
you were fine, but that is maybe where defense counsel failed the most, and
Mhm.
that is you have clients whose principals are averse to the interest of their business,
Mhm.
and that's something
Good
I think
point.
we're seeing more and more with these woke
Right.
companies that
Dick's Sporting Goods for a private sector example. Perfect.
right, Dick's Sporting Goods. There are
Yeah.
others out there that we can find where it's like everything about this case says your adherence to this policy is adverse to your business, to your employees, to your shareholders, to your customers. Why in God's name would you hold on to this when all you have to do is say, you know what? There was a misunderstanding in our previous communication. It was an internal issue that's been dealt with, and we hold no adverse issues
Yeah.
towards so and so.
We call upon our students to knock this off.
Right. Right. We would like to alert our fans that there's nothing wrong with such and such
Oh yeah,
individual or business.
in that pissy whiny letter that they sent out, after the verdict, they were whining about the fact that they were being held responsible for their students' actions. Uh, total total misrepresentation. You
Hmm.
were being held responsible for the acts of senior management in your company, right?
Yeah.
Uh, and to just blithely say that, I mean, what planet do you live on? We were talking about this earlier before the show. There also seems to be a fair amount of evidence that in-house counsel was riding herd over this case. That's the lawyer that works for the university.
Yeah.
And this is all supposition on my part, but anyway, and I've seen this before. Uh, a company gets themselves into a legal mess, and they hire outside counsel. And you come to find out that it was inside counsel that gave them defective legal advice that got them into trouble in the first place. Okay. Well, it's really not a good idea to put that inside counsel in a management position over the litigation, because that lawyer is going to be a lot more concerned with making sure that their incompetence doesn't get exposed,
Right.
or that her advice, his or her advice, is vindicated, which would explain the stridency. It would explain the dismissive, arrogant, snotty tone of the defense. If their boss was basically saying, "No, we were right, and you're gonna," because it's entirely possible, again, supposition, um, that one of these administrators might have called the in-house counsel and said, "Hey, can we do this? Can we support our students and all that?" And she said, "Yes, no problem." And then, oh yeah, the word support, yeah. They pointed to numerous emails and stuff sent to these students over this time period. Everybody was all torqued up about Trump winning too, right? And it's like, and it's
Right.
not. But in fact, one of the communications that they just crammed down her throat, Raimondo's throat, was, it says something like, you know, uh, in addition to the horrible events at Gibson, we're all upset about the outcome of the 2016 election and blah 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 blah. Right? I mean, yeah, yeah. So they were all doing that mental breakdown that so many people did during that time. But over and over and over again, they said, they used the word support, and Placus nailed her. He asked her what she meant when she said support. I said, I don't know if I wrote that down. He said, what does support mean? And she said, basically, she just started dissembling. Something, I don't even remember what it was, but it was something like, well, it just means that the students' needs are being, blah 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 blah. It totally is a non sequitur. That's why I can't remember it, but I'll find it. Anyway, it was a non sequitur, and he stopped and he said, well, actually, doesn't support just mean that we will back you up, and that we will give you assistance, and that we endorse and are, and approve of your course of action? And she said something like, not necessarily.
Oh, yeah.
and
I
and I,
know
and I
all of the
gather
other definitions of
and
support
I
that she's
gather
talking
too that
about.
Placus apparently did another really good lawyer thing. He didn't just cram it down, right? He let the jury draw the inferences,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
My guess is when she popped off like that, he just kind of smiled and said, "Okay, no more questions," and left that hanging in space there in the courtroom.
Right.
Um, at the end of the day, if you're going in with an unlikable client who did it, you know, you're you, you're going to have a long day, um, uh, and that's what these folks did. But anyway, this is a case that would reward looking at it on a day by day basis, because again, the plaintiffs appears you can see how they orchestrated their witnesses to tie in with each other. I mean, it was a very, very good game plan they had. The defense team seemed scattered. They were just like, and terrible mistake to put a snotty expert on the stand for 8 freaking hours. And uh, you know
Yeah.
that
Anyone who talks that long should be shot.
well, and yeah, about
Self
present
included.
value and EBITDA and risk discounts and cash flow, discounted future cash flow. I mean, God Almighty, I'm about to fall asleep, and I actually like that stuff.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so yeah, but a very fascinating case though, fascinating, and I think we're going to see a lot more of this because these universities apparently are not able to control their own staff, you know, and it'll be interesting to see if how many state universities get nailed like this.
Yeah.
Oberlin's a private college, isn't it? I
Yeah.
think it's a private university. Yeah. It'd be interesting to see a state university make the same mistakes because that's just, at least in Texas, I think the state legislature would impose consequences.
Speaking of which, Governor Abbott just signed a bill in your fair state, like probably 6 hours ago now,
Oh, I
about
didn't check.
protecting free speech on college campuses.
Yeah, yeah.
So that'll be
Now you know
interesting to see how that plays
it's
out.
utterly asinine that a bill actually has to be signed. I thought the First Amendment of the United States Constitution is remarkably clear, but you know, nonetheless,
Well, ever since Marbury versus Madison, the Supreme Court has decided that shall not be infringed means shall not be infringed unless we want it to.
yeah, fair enough. You know I'll say one thing though, 9-0 decision last year saying no, there is no hate speech exception to the First Amendment.
Right. That's a good
Um,
one.
well, but here's the problem: the liberals on the court are of a previous generation. If they were replaced by young liberals now, I would be willing to bet a huge amount of money that they would absolutely find a hate speech exception.
Well, of course, hate speech is unconstitutional,
Yeah, yeah, you know,
not protected by the First Amendment. That's what I
right,
should say.
right. Well, you know, they tried the fighting words doctrine, which was discredited anyway, but you know,
Yeah.
but nonetheless, kudos to the court for a 9-0 decision saying absolutely not. There is no hate speech exception. So
Okay, I got two super chats because I know you got to
okay.
get going.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I do. I'm starting to wind.
I want to
I
read
got a long day tomorrow.
these two real quick, and then we'll
Okay.
let you go. Towns here says, given how vocal Doucette is being, what are the odds that he will be representing Mars Girl / Pridemore in a lawsuit? Also, can a lawyer be compelled to represent clients? By the way, cheers, Ty and Nick. May you have a lovely Monday. I I
Um,
I personally can think of no better outcome than
um,
Greg Doucette representing Jesse Pridemore and Mars Girl, but I don't
I
know.
don't, I don't want to seem arrogant or anything. Let's just say that I really don't think Christmas is going to come early for me like that.
Yeah,
Leave it at that.
yeah,
But you know, again, it doesn't matter, right? I mean, the advocate, it doesn't really matter who they get because they're going to be hung by their own words. I mean,
yeah.
just that simple. I mean, you know,
The fact pattern is 98% of any claim,
yeah,
and the
yeah,
advocate is the
and
2.
yeah. Where the advocate comes into his own is when you really genuinely have a really close case. That's when the advocates matter. These cases aren't close. They're just not. I suspect that Mr. Doucette probably won't because I don't think he's a California attorney. I judging from inferring from you know what I know about him, it doesn't sound like he's got massive resources to draw on, and these women would definitely be pro bono cases, I would think. But I don't know. You know.
I don't know, maybe they got a whole bunch of money randomly. Satanic potato. And can a lawyer be compelled to represent clients? Yes. Yes, in a weird
Um,
way.
in a weird way, yeah.
If they have undertaken representation sufficient that the court decides that they must continue said representation, typically that is going to happen after papers are filed,
Yeah.
after like the lawyer has appeared before the court, and if they try to exit the case without some sort of good cause, and that cause is not typically the clients aren't paying me.
Right.
It's
Right.
there's but like, an irretrievable breakdown of client communication or breach of trust with the client, those types of things can defeat it. And it's not super hard for an attorney to do that. But the short answer is yes. The long answer is not usually.
Yeah, Jim talked me out of opposing a withdrawal motion from a particularly obnoxious lawyer one time.
uh,
he, uh, he he convinced me the judge probably wouldn't be as amused by that as I was, but this guy was just a real jerk, and I was like, no, I really think he needs to stay in this case because we knew his client wasn't paying him and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can't. But other than that, no, you can't be compelled. I mean, the
Say,
Constitution kind of has a thing about no slavery now.
right, right. Satanic Potato says, Nick, Ty, I have. Oh, the real basis of that is, would the attorney leaving sufficiently prejudice the client to overcome the right of the attorney to associate freely?
Right.
And that is almost never the case. Almost
Yeah,
never.
most time the courts are going to let you out, but you have to have a hearing. I mean, it's not an automatic process.
Right.
I
Satanic.
don't understand the logic of wanting a lawyer who doesn't want to represent you anymore to keep representing you.
Right. Well, the only time I can think of it is there's actually a case, and it ended up not working out this way. But if you had a sanctions motion that included the attorney, and you were trying to compel the attorney to be representing the client because you wanted to sanction the attorney specifically and link their client's actions to the attorney themselves because you thought the client couldn't pay but the attorney could.
Okay.
That happened in this lawsuit thing, but it didn't actually, they didn't actually go for that. But it was funny because the opposing counsel in this, who was let off of the sanctions, was likely responsible for the behavior, but it would be hard to prove. And the client is basically destitute. I'm pretty sure he's eating toothpaste and stuff like that by now. So it would be much better to get the law firm on for the sanctions rather than the client. But okay, so Satanic Potato says, Nick, Ty, I have evidence of another case of defamation against Vic by an e-thought at a convention. It did not happen in the state of Texas, but I think it's worth looking into. Where can I contact you? I mean, you can email that to me if you want.
Yeah.
But
there's a contact form on our website. Just go through that.
Yeah, the contact form.
Somebody will respond.
It's beardandharris.com, right?
Yeah. www.beardandharris and spelled out.com.
Yep. So go there, fill it out on the contact form. Someone will get back to you, on that issue. So that's a great way to do it. If you want to send it to me, great. But I'm not part of the legal team, so that would be of journalistic interest to me. All right, man. Well,
listen, I enjoyed it. This Oberlin case was interesting. I didn't get to spend quite as much time with it as it developed, but if you're a law nerd, this is a good case to study.
Well, I think it might be interesting to go through at least the trial day by day at some point coming up here, where we can kind of plan it and warn people of what's coming, because I think they might find that very interesting to go.
Yeah, it was. Like I said, the plaintiff's counsel just put on a show. They really did. I mean, this ought to be studied in trial advocacy courses in law school, I think. So, all right, man. Well, listen, you have a good evening to the stream and everything. Thanks, guys. Enjoyed it. And
thank you, man.
We'll see what happens tomorrow.
Sounds good. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Take it easy. Bye-bye.
Yep. Peace. All right. That was Mr. Ty Beard. He's still here. Get out of here. Eject. Booted. There we go. So that was Ty Beard. Of course, there are several super chats to go through still that I want to go ahead and hit. If you do have any questions that come up, feel free to ask them as we go through the super chats. A couple thoughts about the events on Twitter lately, the rallying. Look, it's pretty obvious that there was some push to get this narrative, to try and regain control of the narrative. I think they picked a really weird time to do it. Okay. They picked a weird time to do it because Discovery and Funimation's answer coming tomorrow is going to take a grip Hold on one. That's going to take a grip on the narrative. That's going to capture the attention of everybody involved. So squabbles over stuff that we can't resolve until a TCPA and summary judgment motion are going to fade away. It's a short-lived gain. Unless certain Twitter attorneys just don't have anything else to do, and they might persist in commenting on this, and that may be that genuinely could be that they will take an interest and continue to comment on this over and over. That's fine. They can do that all they want. I have a feeling that everybody's going to be way more interested in hearing about what was filed in discovery, what Funimation's approach is going to be. Is there a TCPA? What are the merits of the TCPA? What are they bringing up in it? I think that's going to be way more interesting to people than whether or not a bunch of Twitter lawyers from other states are talking about defamation in the abstract without actual defamation being entered into the case for another day or 2 days or 3 days or whatever it may be. That's something I have to hit on here. So let me real quickly talk about the Texas Defamation Mitigation Act, what is required from it, and why it may include statements that you don't that you would not see introduced even at trial. Okay, there are a couple reasons, and they're good reasons. Despite what the random Twitter lawyers are telling you, there are, how do I put this? There are theoretical or academic approaches to a lawsuit, okay? And then there are practical approaches to a lawsuit. Ty and I have kind of discussed this a little bit today, but let me suggest something. Here's the requirements of the Texas Defamation Mitigation Act. You have to include in the act, in the letter, in the takedown letter, you have to include all false and defamatory comments. Now, one way to read that is comments that are both defamatory and false. Another way to read that is comments that are false and comments that are defamatory, which could be two, a defamatory comment could be not false, and a false comment could be not defamatory. All right. So according to the letter, you're supposed to, or according to the strict reading of the statute, you may be required to include all of them. No matter what random Twitter lawyers say about Texas procedure, the Texas Supreme Court has actually dismissed cases for failure to sufficiently comply with the Texas Defamation Mitigation Act. So again, you have the option of under preparing or over preparing. That said, the statements in the letter, okay, this is important and is being casually dismissed by these commentators. These statements in the letter are not part of the record, are not incorporated into the petition, and may not even necessarily be raised at trial or in any pretrial pleadings. They may not. But to maintain the action, you must address them sufficiently. So you have these things incorporated into the letter that may not be incorporated into the lawsuit. But here's the other part. And this goes away from the theoretical, all right? And this goes into the practical. If you get past the Civil Participation Act motion to dismiss, you get past summary judgment, and you get to a jury, and you raise all of these statements listed in the letter, okay? Follow along with me here. The jury has to decide which statement is defamatory or not. They become fact questions for the jury. So if you survive TCPA, if you survive summary judgment, and you go, then you have to have the jury hear out, or the judge, I guess, if the judge is a fact finder, but probably the jury. Either way, You have to have them going through these tweets. And what are all of these tweets saying horrible things about Vic that may not be in and of themselves actionable defamation? They're going to be working on the mind of the listener. Obviously so. Man, called him a POS, said he should burn in hell, all this stuff. They're going to know at that point that he's a Christian, that's going to be particularly egregious to him, all of these things. If you don't think that evidence that ultimately doesn't get included at trial doesn't impact a jury or a judge, I don't know what to tell you. Lawyers ask questions that get objected to all the time, knowing that they'll get objected to. They just do. Why? Why would they do that? Because they want someone to hear what's said. So again, all of these people speaking in the abstract, speaking in terms of academic or theoretical law, yeah, that's great. The courtrooms are a little messier than that. And sometimes you might need to include a statement, or you might need to have an argument about a statement. You might need to have an argument about him being a criminal piece of poop, right? You might need to have that argument in front of the jury. You know, is this defamatory? I don't know. Does this play into the larger narrative? I don't know. What's the jury think? That's going to be, again, it's about more than just the black and white letter of the law. It's about more than just whatever academic theory you can do, because I've talked about this over and over. Once you get into court, starting the moment you file your document, you've got a human element that's a person. That's not a robot. It's not a computer. It's not a yes-no algorithm. This is a person with emotions, with baggage, with feeling, with political ideology, with personal ideology, and all of that you're going to be trying to tune. So again, is this worth arguing with people on Twitter on? No. I'm telling you, if you're arguing with that Greg Doucette guy, all you are doing is helping him in his Twitter analytics. That's all you're doing. That's all he cares about. When I don't engage him and he starts tagging me multiple times within a 5-minute period, it should indicate to everybody why that's happening. This guy wants access to you and the people in your network. And the way he does that is by engaging with you and engaging with me and stuff like that. That's what he's trying to do. It doesn't even matter if his messaging is correct on the law, because he's not feeding. He's got a differing opinion on the strategic implementation of specific texts. Fine, he can have that all day. He's going to insult Ty about it. Fine, he can insult Ty all day. None of this ultimately matters. What matters is what happens at the TCPA, at the summary judgment hearing, and at the eventual trial if it gets that far. So there you go. I don't know how else to say it, but even if they're right on specific parts of the law, they're wrong in the overall strategic use of things. And by wrong, I mean they just disagree with the lawyers of record who have access to more information than them. That's fine. So there you go. Let me hit the Streamlabs chats here, and then we'll hit the super chats, and then we'll call it a night, probably. TLJ Screwjob says, last night, which is better than honestly assess your position. Well, it wasn't last night, 2 nights ago. Made me realize something. It's just Vic. Not the companies that knew for years but did nothing. Not Funimation, not Rooster Teeth, not the Conversation staff. Vic's the only problem in the industry. TLJ Screwjob continues, says, speaking of cons and staff, what about perfect contradiction or whatever? Oh, professional contrarian. They said that they worked at cons that banned Vic in 2004, yet you wait until 2019 to do anything. Vic wasn't banned from a convention in 2004. This is something that's going out there. I can tell you, I've spoken with head of security of major conventions. I've spoken with convention runners and convention owners and executive committees of major conventions, okay? when lower level staff, when volunteer staff don't see Vic being invited a particular year, they say he's banned. Executive staff say, no, he was not banned. There was a scheduling conflict. There was a whatever. There's any number of other reasons that he was not being invited. We had a full roster. We had this. We had that. There is no need. Vic often did not go to the same convention twice in 2 years. Okay, often. To suggest that him not being invited, and you can find this. You can find these dummies out there saying he was banned from a convention. He's banned from this convention. And then right away saying, but then they invited him the next year. That's not being banned from a convention. He wasn't invited that year for literally any reason. You notice what's lacking from all these statements is any sort of backup for the fact that he was banned other than he was absent. Well, a lot of conventions happen that don't have voice actors at them or particular voice actors. Does that mean they're all banned? No, obviously not. You're dealing with people who do not have the upper level information. So, yeah. Was he banned in 2004? No, likely not. But yeah, also what's stopping people from lying under oath to make sure Vic loses? They won't get the opportunity. Again, these are about defamation, tortious interference, are not about what someone else said necessarily. There are ways to get someone else to the stand sometimes, but largely they're about what you said. And you don't get to say someone else said it, so it must be true, right? Now you may get to bring them forward to say the thing that they said to prove the truth of the matter. You may not. There's a whole bunch that'll go into that question. But ultimately, the person making the statement bears the burden. Now, yes, Vic has to prove falsity first, and they have to prove truth. How do we prove falsity? Start with a simple statement. It's not true. And then we move on to show why it's not true. It's not true because when was it? 1, this never happened. 2, when was it? We don't even have a specific date attached. We don't have a specific convention attached. Who is this person? Is this made by a first party or a third party? You get all sorts of ways. You get all sorts of circumstantial evidence. Actually, it's not true. You know, I know it's not true because I was at that convention with a handler the entire time. I was not able to meet up with people privately. This would have happened in public, blah, 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 blah. How is this being talked about 8 years later and no chatter in between? Okay. You start attacking these statements in all sorts of different ways to prove their falsity. Then the burden will shift to them to prove the truth of it, and they may have some opportunities to do that. We'll see. We'll see. But it's not going to be, well, here's 100 people to parade in front of a jury to say all the mean things about Vic Mignogna. It's going to be about the specific statements that they're talking about. And you can't just do, like, they're going to be picked by Ty's team. They're going to pick the statements that matter the most, that are the most impactful, and they'll go for them. That's how that'll happen. So anyway, Adriano Abreu says, hi, Nick and Ty. Today, Shane said he is giving Greg and others insider information about the case that will start coming out in 2 to 3 weeks. Oh, good. Shane's insider information is the Seoul and size in UK units. Also that Vic is refusing to schedule his depot date due to last-minute con appearances. Thoughts on these points? Vic had a con appearance for the deposition date that was canceled. There you go. Refusing to schedule depositions since the hearing. I don't know that there's anything to that or not. I haven't talked to Ty about it. Let's see. Dave Youngson says, do you guys believe the Supreme Court decision in New York Prime Inc. versus Oliveira should or will affect how courts understand the public figure doctrine, as they have stated they should use the definition on things when laws were passed? I'm not familiar with the case enough to answer that question. I apologize. Books, Games, Pottery says, got to catch this tomorrow. My niece kept us waiting through a 36-hour labor before deciding to be born today. Everybody is great now, but I'm beat. Oh, man, that's the worst. Kids are the worst. No, congratulations to you and your family. See you later, Books. S. Cybertaz says, I'm glad Cuck Lightyear slash Buzz Lightweight. Don't call him Lightweight. Pick caught on. Hopefully someone can tidy up my pick or short round, turn it into a patch. I didn't first call him a cuck. Didn't want to assume his chair. To stupidity and beyond. So there you go. Next we have Irie Ice 36 says, this is for Ty. Oh, I'll send it to him. You, sir, are a legend and a boss. I admire what you've done for Vic, you and your firm. You are the savior of the entertainment industry and deserve the highest of praise. Andrew War Snowboard says, Drexel's YouTube should be called Big Black D. Richard Freeman says, I'm ready. The raging rants, bring on the beards. Professor Azrael says, absent and flaming. Dick Freeman, I hope you aren't disappointed. It was not intended to be a ranting stream today, and we really didn't get into that too much. Architect of Fate says, late and a furry with a man and a beard, hashtag balance. K. Banyai says, first ever and probs last super chat. Take it. Well, thank you. Thank you. I hope it's not your last, but we'll see. Professor Azrael says, never mind, you're on time and straight. Take my money. Will do, gladly. Irie Ice 36 says, Air. Oh, sorry. Nick, my name is pronounced Air, not Ari. R-I. Air. Air Ice 36. Thank you so much. Andrew War Snowboard says, David Oritz shot in the background during burglary. Shot in the back during burglary in DR. I don't know who David Oritz is. Michael Beacon says, bite the pillow, Oberlin. Good advice. Harbinger 345 says, glad to see your voice doing fine, Nick, after burning down everything at the molecular level in a 20-kilometer radius during that rant the other day. Yeah, I did get up. I heard my microphone clipped out, so sorry if you missed anything funny. Slade Wilson says, best stream to watch during my nights, and here's another donation. Hey, thank you. Also, had a blast at Savannah MegaCon to meet Vic. Yeah, I saw pictures of Savannah MegaCon. Again, lines out the door, down the hall, or around the queue, whatever it is. Just tons of people, tons of support. Thank you so much for supporting Vic. It means so much to him to get out there and be with fans and interact with fans. It really is huge. It's really, I believe it has really helped him through all this. Because Vic has not talked about the lawsuit publicly at all, or very little, and nothing substantial that I'm aware of. And, you know, this is another thing. Ty gets to be the bulldog, right? That's an important lawyer job. Go fight the fight. I'm going to go live my life and not fight the fight. I don't want to do that. Lots of people are not suited to take a fight somewhere. Your lawyer, you may need to hire a lawyer who will take a fight and you not have anything to do with it. So that in a lot of ways is probably Ty's job, to do the fight that Vic can't, won't, and shouldn't do. Vic's just trying to preserve his career. Vic's just trying to keep working. You know, the stuff that Ty does is on Ty. Stuff that I do is on me. I'm not representing anybody, but you know, that's on that. Our actions are our own. Vic's actions are Vic's. Vic's words are Vic's, and that's what really matters there. Where are we? Mr. Inflammable says, I messaged Ty on Twitter earlier today, and I'd appreciate it if he could read the message. I don't know what he can do with them, but I want him to know. He can't respond to you. That's one thing he's not doing. He's not responding to any messages that come to him on Twitter. Chuck Mung says, did Casey Eric get fired? I don't think so. What do you think is going on? We covered this earlier. Shane suggests that he's moved on to another firm. Maybe he has, maybe he hasn't. There are other possible reasons, but it seems like something has happened. We'll probably find out tomorrow, and that's fine. I'm content to wait for the full. I'm content to wait for the full answer on what has happened from the source, not from someone who just got done dry humping a futon. Lord Chippy Dip says, "What do you mean this show is monetized?" Gasped. GR People says, "Monetize me, Nick." Finn Frog says, "I'll never pay you ever again. Free streams only." Architect of Fate says, "A John Wayne Gacy birthday party?" No. GR People says, "You must convince Ethan Van Sciver to go to Anime Matsuri as he has shown an interest since Tug will be there in a mask and he wants to ensure his safety." Albert Reed, thanks for the donation. Emmaus Catuli 2016 says, "Hey buddy, hope you liked your gunsling." I did. It's upstairs. I'll show it on stream tomorrow. If you have it handy, show Ty and see if he would want one. I'll send a picture to Ty for sure and ask him. I would have shown it on stream today, but it's upstairs. Sorry. Coolman229 says, "On a EFAP stream, Mahler covered a Legal Eagle video on Captain Marvel and they ripped him apart. People wanted you to get on EFAP. What's EFAP? For it. It should be on Mahler's Mueller channel as soon as EFAP 38. What is EFAP? Cesario JPN says, "Good. Good. New Battletoads game announced at E3. Bad quickie coverage. Dark Queen heavily censored. Meh gameplay and graphics. Drexel will have issues with it." I have issues with it. The Dark Queen looks like a Kim Possible villain. The art direction looks like garbage. The game doesn't look that difficult. Maybe it is, but it doesn't look punishing in the way that the original was. EFAP is every frame a pause. Okay, I've never, I'm not familiar. I'm not familiar at all. Rolana1 says, "Nick, if the GoFundMe does reach 200K, will you be upping that amount as every dollar counts in this case?" I don't know. That'll be a decision when and if we get there. Zephael says, "Thai beard, fistful of toes, 285th scale Russians." Thank you. Deathwish says, "I think you make enough money, but I have to say you've provided me with a lot of entertainment and I love the concepts you stand for. Keep on keeping on." Thank you. Ink Penification says, "Ty unleashing his inner Joe Jamail." Zenai Ulanya says, "Tactful is the word you're looking for, Ty." Kyle Bishop says, $0 super. Enjoy post-Vox Monopoly money. Share with Ty. Hey, thanks, buddy. Cedarwood says, "Did you see Legal Eagle defend supervillain Brie Larson maiming that poor man? He called her detractors conservatives." You know, everybody's asked why I don't like Legal Eagle that much. You guys make your own decisions on that guy. Blink Your Eyes 1400 says, "Vic called Todd at the panel Saturday. I was there." Oh, cool. That's neat. What, he called him on the phone? Onyx Steel says, "Free YouTube money or mobile exclusive. Have fun at your conventions." Hey, thank you. Rolana1 says, "Just wondering, have you ever tried Bundaberg rum?" No, I have not. Professor Azriel says, "Because some idiot said not to donate to Vic's GoFundMe, I'm going to drop 10 to 20 on it. This is my first time donating to the cause simply due to lack of funding. I hope this donation serves you well, Nick." Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you for the donation to Vic's GoFundMe as well. No Name says, "TI with a contract? Where's Shane? He knows this." Let's see. Thousand Axe says, "Have either of you seen Legal Eagle's video on how he legally defends Captain Marvel using excessive force on a guy who touched her map?" No, I haven't. I don't watch Legal Eagle's videos because they bore me, frankly. You know, okay, so I've been getting just a annoying amount of proposals from channel networks and stuff like that who can all help me improve my viewership and subscribers and all that. They will help me convince you all to subscribe to me harder or whatever. And then I go and I look at the channels that they have under their wing, and I hate everything that they put out. It's the same types of content. It's clearly engineered to catch the algorithm's eye. It's got the same clickbaity-ish titles, the same thumbnails that are very much tailored to to way into the clickbaity titles and all that stuff. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Legal Eagles videos look just like that to me. I don't like them. Whether or not they're good, like video to video, I couldn't tell you. But I can tell you that the overall look of his content bores me to death. And guys, I watch Total War Warhammer 2 battles play out. Like, so the bar for boring content for me is low and his is below it. So there you go. But no, I have not watched it. Rando number 9 says hashtag make dueling legal again. Austin Kinkle says, have you seen the Michelle character's Vic photo? Yeah, I have. That person doesn't have much credibility with me. Now, I've seen accusations that the photo is photoshopped and all that stuff. I don't know anything about whether or not it's photoshopped. I'm not going to get into an argument about that. I'm by no means an expert or even a lay. I don't even qualify as a Photoshop lay person. So, I'm not going to talk about that. Okay. You presented a photo. Someone who seems to be Vic is in the photo. Okay. Matt Field says, I don't even know Vic's work, but I fully support him. I was falsely accused of rape at 18. This is personal. Think the bakery case could help the Covington kids? Yeah, I really do. That's an interesting parallel. Nick, you are a legend. Oh, thank you. Hard Bastard and you are my favorite YouTubers. Awesome. I had a good chat with Hard Bastard that the one time. I'd love to talk to him again. Flatface 7777 says, Ty, thanks for the overdue heads up on this case. The greatest stories never told. What do you guys think? Should Ty and I go through this case, like at least the trial portion, and try and do like dedicated streams to 1 or 2 days of trial at a time? Informal survey, 1 for yes, 2 for no in the chat. And is that content that you guys would like to see? I'd love some feedback on that. The greatest stories never told says Mars Girl's arms are so long she can drive from the back seat. She could drive from the back of the bus, buddy. Flatface 7777 says also good luck and God bless for tomorrow. Now, to be clear, there was some confusion. There's not a hearing tomorrow in Vic's case, but you could be talking about just Ty's day in general. So yeah, God bless for him. For me, I'm otherwise busy. Takaki Onsai says TCPA, is it all for one for all, or individual? That's a good question. I lean towards thinking that the TCPA stays discovery for the individual, but it may stay discovery for everyone. It's hard to say. Now, the outcome of the TCPA is limited to the party that files it. So if Funimation files a TCPA and gets the case dismissed as to Funimation, it won't have any direct impact on Monica, Ron, or Jamie Markey. Richard G says, Kiora, Nick. Are the latest Twitter lawyers' inputs and attacks a sign of desperation from the Kick Vic side, trying to muddy the waters? Yeah, I mean, I think it's trying to muddy the waters. I think it's trying to regain the narrative that they lost a long, long time ago, and we'll see. I mean, we'll see what they do. Again, whatever the narrative they're building, the amount of people that they're influencing within the community appears to be minimal. And if that's where you're going to invest your time, that seems like bad marketing to me. And if you want an interesting metric on this, there are metrics on this. Okay, so Greg Doucette is tweeting 350 plus times a day for the past 3 days. All right. Go look at how many followers the new champion of Kick Vic has picked up on Twitter. Couple hundred, right? Ty passed 10,000 followers today. Now, Ty is an interesting and dynamic character, but I don't think 10,000 people are following Ty because of Ty. I think 10,000 people are following Ty because of Ty's work with Vic. And I think that if we look at Ty, if we look at me, I guess if you want to look at my Twitter analytics or whatever, and you look at Greg's, you still get a pretty clear picture of where the support lies in this case, and it is largely on Vic's side. But that's a tangible way you can go explore that and make your own judgments on it. So, very interesting. We've got, let's see. Blaine 20 says, aha, hush that fuss, arms girl driving from the back of the bus. Thanks, buddy. ERB Beta Patch, thanks for donations. Random, where did that go? Random Fireflies says, quick question, what's your favorite whiskey? Right now, it's still probably Lagavulin 16, just overall price per impact. It's just a solid, I never don't like it. Blaine 20 says, attorney, are you an ARPist? Mr. Duchette. Opposing counsel. Objection. Judge sustained. Attorney withdrawn. Jury takes notes. I think you mean rapist. Rapist. Cass Michael says the shoplifting happened on the day Trump won, 11/9/16. Billy the Kid Lawrence says, could someone use a deep fake to screw Vic over? They could try. Sure. There you go. Snarkticon DM says, ignore that last guy. Drex's stream should be called Midgets and Feet. And the guy meant David Ortiz, the former Red Sox player. Oh, okay. I'm not a baseball. So if you do a baseball reference on me, I'm not going to know. I just don't follow it at all. My dad loves baseball. Sammy Ree says, did you see Legal Eagles video on the Captain Marvel clip? Nope. Snarkticon DM says, who are you taking, Blues or Bruins? I say Bruins. Say Bruins. Wild are division rivals. After all, as a Hawks fan, that's what I'm doing. Again, I'm not taking anybody. I like going to hockey games, but I don't follow the sport at all. Ben Frog says, I'm not paying no one, not one more cent. Oh, thanks, buddy. Captain Awesome says, you play Total War Warhammer 2? How is it? I have the first one and it's neat. I really like it quite a bit, but I haven't played it in a long time. I'm like an expansion or two behind. I just haven't had time. It's a fun game though. I'm not good at it. I'm not good in multiplayer, but I have fun in single player. SM Scorix 89 says, you and Ty still need to go over the LOL suit. Yes, we do. We do. I want to put out that show in advance so enough people know that that's coming, because I think that'll be great. Critical says, hey Nick, thoughts on the morality of cannabis laws nationally and internationally, your point of view from the stance of a lawyer of liberty. Cannabis should be legalized in the United States for sure, period. It should be done. We need legal weed in the States. I'm sorry, there's no logical explanation for why it should no longer be legal. And some people will suggest that states have the authority to regulate the use of certain substances. Yeah, they shouldn't though. The states and the Fed should not have the power to regulate that. I don't actually want them regulating the use of hemlock. If someone wants to eat hemlock, go ahead. Yeah, I'm not a big fan. I think weed's at a point in society where we can legalize it. We can undo a lot of the propaganda that led to its criminalization, and that can lead us down the next steps of legalizing other substances as well. I don't know that legalizing all substances right now is the best move for everything. Like if we have heroin and coke and meth all suddenly legal, I'm not sure that that's the best thing tomorrow. But having a forecasted plan with intentionality and moving society towards the ability to accept those substances, similar to the way other countries have successfully done so, I think is important. So there you go. H.R. Hacken says, happy Pentecost Day, or however you call it in English. Now I can actually listen to the whole thing instead of just on the commute to work. Hey, awesome. Thank you. And then Rambo number 9 says, is Doucette, dare I say it, a grifter? I won't say anything. His version of grifting is very weird. Everything about this is transparent. The costs are not astronomical in a case like this, and you know, there's so much still to do. All right, guys. And TLJ Screwjob says, thanks, Nick. It's just that someone who's I stand with Vic brought up the IO9 article, leaving out some of Vic's answers, and Dominique Sky was all, those statements will be in discovery and sworn affidavits. I know. Trust nothing they say. Just really nervous. Okay. They can be in discovery and sworn affidavits all they want. That doesn't necessarily make them true. And they may not get to include those in their TCPA motion. If we're being honest, they may not get to. TCPA is supposed to be read favorably towards the non-moving party. The defense may not get to present counter evidence in their claim. So we'll see. And then Critical says, wow, surprisingly progressive, but I'm with you. Yeah, I'm not a monolith on my political ideology. And fact is, if we're allowed to consume sugar, caffeine, alcohol, tobacco, I can't justify banning weed. I just can't do it. McDonald's. Anyway. All right, guys. Yeah, that Jason Stroud, that thing, we'll have to see. We'll have to see about that thing. It's just silly. I'm not gonna give it like exposure. It might just be a troll or a joke, and I don't care if it's not. Someone else might care. We'll find out. But all right, guys. I need to go. I have some things to do tomorrow morning. I got to rest my voice a bit, and then tomorrow will be another show. I will be watching for whatever information I can get on Discovery, on Casey Eric, and on Funimation. I assume tomorrow's show will be tailored towards that. Oh, the reason I'm doing a stream on a Sunday is that Matsuri's coming up. I'm not sure how much streaming I'll be able to do while Matsuri's going on, right? Because I'm going to be at Matsuri. There's going to be hotel internet and stuff like that. I just don't know. So, I will be gone. I'll be down in Houston for all of Matsuri, and except for the part where I go to the John Wayne dinner at BHBH. So we'll see, but I did want to go ahead and get a stream in today, because like I said, it's possible that there's a 5-day span or so where streams could be pretty, although some of them will be weekend, but where streams might be pretty sparse. So we'll see. I'll keep you informed as much as I can. There will be a stream Monday for sure, most likely Tuesday, hopefully Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, can't promise anything, Saturday, Sunday, don't know. And then Monday again for sure. All right, guys. Gosh, I think that's it. I think that's it for tonight. I hope the Oberlin thing was interesting. Of course, I did see all of the ones in chat, and yeah, maybe Ty and I can do some Oberlin streams, and he can walk us through, as a more experienced litigator than I am, he can walk us through the trial strategy one day, 1 or 2 days at a time, and we can do some shows on that as we go on, and as there's other things. In the meanwhile, don't fret. The Twitter mob, what do they do effectively? What do they do effectively? Just remember that over and over again. What do these people do effectively? They band together. They dunk on irrelevant or half-truths or untruths, and then they move along. And that's what they do. That's how they go. They believe that there is impact in doing that. We know that the representation is never accurate in the way that they say it is. Oh, I should probably play the outro music. So here we go. Outro music is playing, just so you guys know that the end is coming. Solo Beverly says, plans for Weeb stream. I got to figure it out. Maybe that'd be a fun thing to do on Tuesday. Let me talk to people, because it might be fun, depending on the news. It might be fun to go into either Tuesday or Wednesday, to go into Matsuri with some heavy weebification of me. Like, maybe I can get some people to weeb me up more. So yeah. And then Dustin Fitzfar says, I switched to the Brave browser and gave you money. Hey, thanks, buddy. I appreciate that very much. Thank you. All right, guys. Let's what do you want to do? Oh yeah, let me wrap this up. Final, back to the Twitter mob. The profit on engaging with them is low, because what they're going to do is they're going to speak in theoreticals that are not practically related to this case. I mean, for the simple fact that Duchet or whatever said that the tweets from Ron Toye don't show anything about TI because they're privileged as part of a... No. It doesn't... It's not that simple at all. If you remember, we had a couple lawyers on stream here that were not connected to the case, all suggesting that they're a great fact pattern for TI. You can find other lawyers who have looked at it and find that those are extremely interesting fact patterns for TI, and very solid as well. It's honestly hard to find evidence of tortious interference more clear than that. So again, they're going to speak in the abstract. We'll see what happens in court. If you want to engage them, that's up to you. It doesn't really help us, because they're convincing people who don't like anime fans. That's it. And it's in their own words, if you can find them in their layers and layers of tweets. But the open disdain they have for the fan community should tell you pretty much everything you know about what their purpose is, and that's fine. So, all right, guys, I'm going to end the stream. When the song is over, it will be done. Thanks for hanging out tonight. I'll catch you tomorrow. Peace. Peace.
There's no